edition of Ask Michael Eline. This is where I teach people the law in an unorthodox manner by using examples that we see in the news, case law briefs, but it's all about exposing the Leviathan and its instrumentalities and taking back your rights. Know the law and mean to keep it well. Come here to learn from an expert to know your right. Make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to save, because we never know when the thought police are going to take down this channel.
Things just keep going down and down and down for the Democrat Party, and I'm loving it. I'm loving it. So first we got Letitia James, the New York Attorney General, who brought those BS cases against President Trump after in 2023 herself fraudulently on a mortgage loan application stating that a home in Norfolk, Virginia was going to be her primary residence while being the New York Attorney General, which is fraud. Knowing she was not going to be a resident of Virginia, it's illegal. She can't be the New York AG with the primary residence of Virginia. And her niece is standing there. Then also in 2001, the brownstone she has in Brooklyn, which is a 5-unit residence, but she put 4-unit. Why? Because as a 5-unit in the state of New York, that is a commercial property. It'd be deemed as commercial, which means the rates are higher. As a residential property, the rates are better. And under the 2023 fraud, there was federal rates and federal benefits. So she lied on a federal application. Now here we got Shifty Schiff, the godfather of the January 6th BS and the Russia witch hunt, which turned out to be nothing more than a Hillary Clinton hit job with Adam Schiff as the attack dog out there doing the work. But now the chickens are coming home to roost. And this is why Shifty Schiff fought so hard against President Trump being reelected. He knew that he got bodies buried everywhere. And I believe that President Trump, after being in 4 years and then getting out, you know where the bodies are buried. And then he got a chance to watch like whack-a-mole as all of his enemies, they came for him and how they surrounded him. They boxed him in with those 4 court cases that they never thought that he would survive and get through, but he did. Now is the day of reckoning, and not in the form of retribution. No, these people are bad actors that committed laws. Now, in this video, I'm going to show you this evidence, this information, and proof that Adam Shifty Schiff is in deep trouble, and he may really be looking at not just losing the Senate seat, but he may be looking at prison time based on the alleged fraud, the involving mortgage, involving perjury, involving voters. It's all over the place for Shifty Schiff. So let's get into it. Now, right here, this is the first piece, and I'll get into the video piece. Records show Adam Schiff financed a $1.7 million Maryland home as principal residence. California Rep. Adam Schiff is facing explosive allegations of mortgage fraud, voter fraud, and election misconduct spanning nearly 20 years. A bombshell report by Chris Bish and Darren Ellis reveals Schiff declared his Maryland home as his primary residence since 2003. Now, how can you be the senator of California with your primary residence in New Jersey while continuing to vote and serve as the congressman from California? Most people didn't even know that Adam Schiff isn't from California, doesn't live in California. He lives in Maryland. Now, here's that piece of documentation. Now, this next video is going to go in depth with it. Now, typically, you know, I get on and I share clips and I give commentary, but in this video, I'm not going to do that. This next video piece that I'm going to show is a little long, but it goes in depth and gives you more detail about the fraud, mortgage fraud, the voter fraud that Shifty Schiff is being accused of, and just how his freedom is hanging in the balance. And Pam Bondi and Cash Patel may be knocking on his door sooner than he probably expected. He knows it's coming, but it's coming faster than he probably would have expected. So without further ado, I'm gonna get off into this video.
One such bog dweller, it should come as no surprise to anyone, is chief Trump-hating, failed Hollywood scriptwriter, California Representative Adam Schiff. Veteran investigators Christine Bish and John Stubbins filed an ethics complaint last week alleging that Adam Schiff committed fraud and perjury by declaring both his homes in California and Maryland as his primary residence, thereby violating state and federal laws, so they say. Now, many lawmakers keep a place in Washington, especially if they represent a state from far away, like Schiff does. But only one of their homes can be considered their primary residence. And if you're a lawmaker, your primary residence must technically be in the district you represent. Makes sense. But if you keep 2 primary residences, you are able to manipulate the system, get lower mortgage rates, And this is exactly what Bish and Stubbins allege. This story emerges as Schiff runs for the U.S. Senate against a backdrop where California homelessness has hit record highs and cost of living has driven Californians out. The ethics complaint lists apparent discrepancies in Schiff's voting record, where Schiff claims both homes in Maryland and California as primary residences between 2002 and 2013. The hypocrisy is glaring. Just this year, Adam Schiff's Democrats pushed Robert F. Kennedy Jr. off the ballot in New York over his debates about his various residencies. Would they dare hold these same standards up to Adam Schiff? Joining us now to discuss the exclusive details is best-selling author and investigative journalist Seamus Bruner, author of Controligarchs. Seamus, welcome back.
Hey, Chanel, it's great to be with you. Yeah, Adam Schiff is in a world of trouble if the legal system is fair. I know that this complaint has been submitted to multiple U.S. House agencies and to the House Judiciary, House Ethics, and House Oversight Committee. And it's true, Adam Schiff has been checking the box principal residence on multiple mortgage applications in 2 different states. You can't live in 2 places at once as your principal residence, and mortgage fraud is a serious crime.
Walk us through the timeline for this. I know that this is coming from a variety of documents that are, verifiable through public records, but walk us through the timeline here. Where do we start?
Yeah, so this all starts really around 2001, between 2001 and 2003. Adam Schiff is from California. He gets elected to Congress, and then he starts commuting, like you laid out in the intro here. He then sells his condo in Burbank, California, and buys a place in Maryland. And so on that box of his mortgage application in Maryland, he checks, this will be my principal residence. But then he buys a condo in Burbank, and then he checks the box, this will be my principal residence in Burbank.
If you enjoyed this video, do me a solid, hit that like button, because I'll never ask you for a cash app or a super chat, but you hitting that like button, it is currency. It'll spread the video around. And if you aren't subscribed to the channel, subscribe. And then once you do, make sure you hit that notification bell and select all. That way you'll be notified when I upload new videos.
Yeah, and in my case, make sure to double tap the screen because we're in vertical mode.
And so when he's checking these boxes in Maryland, principal residence, he's potentially committing voter fraud in California because throughout 2006, 7, 8, and 9, his voter registration documents say he's living in Burbank. And so he goes back and forth checking these boxes all the way up through a refinance in 2013 of his Maryland property, saying that this is my principal residence. And so it's just, it doesn't make sense. How could you be living in both places at once? And I'm glad you mentioned the financial benefits. It's not just the lower mortgage interest rates. You get a lower interest rate on your primary residence. It's also the lower property taxes. You get a homestead exemption. It's also, you get lower insurance rates on your primary residence. And then there's also the federal tax returns with the mortgage interest deduction. And so there's all kinds of financial benefits for doing this. It's not clear whether Adam Schiff got sloppy or greedy, possibly both, but this is a big problem. There was a conviction of a Baltimore state attorney, Marilyn Mosby is her name. She was convicted for mortgage fraud for a very similar circumstance. As you mentioned, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the Democrats tried to kick him off of the ballot, or successfully did, in New York for a similar residency discrepancy. And there's a host of other people who have had this problem of declaring 2 primary residences in places where they're actually not living full time.
Now, I have reached out to the Schiff campaign for comment about this story. We have, and they've yet to respond as of this broadcast. What has Adam Schiff said in response to this explosive allegation?
Yeah, so I mean, this really became a public news story back in 2009 with a bunch of other Congress members who were doing this. Doris Matsui, who is from California, she was in big trouble for declaring residency both in Maryland and in California. A bunch of congressmen have gotten into this problem before. Back in 2009, Schiff was mentioned for this because he's been doing it for that long. And he said he actually admitted, oh, I made a mistake. Now, you can't make a mistake and profit financially from that mistake without consequences. But nonetheless, Nancy Pelosi was in charge of the House, back then, and she should have investigated. But of course, why would she? So that was back in 2009. He said, quote, mistake. They said it was a clerical error in 2009. But here's the thing. They said in 2009 it was a mistake and a clerical error. He refinanced the Maryland property in 2011 and in 2013, and he checked the box principal residence both of those years. And so if it was a mistake, now we know now he refinanced the Maryland property around 2020 recently. And guess what? He checks the box second home. And so that is basically an admission that he knew he was violating these rules. And in 2011-13, he had full knowledge of what he was doing, and he checked the box anyway.
Well, Seamus, clearly the penalties for committing this kind of perjury and fraud are not very high. If lawmakers are doing this, have done this, and seem to continue to do this, it just doesn't look like they're worried about being penalized or punished.
Yeah, if this were Donald Trump, they would have buried him under the prison by now. But for Adam Schiff, he gets off scot-free. And so what's really interesting, actually, is going to see how this develops, because in Maryland, the penalties are extremely harsh, much harsher than in California, for committing mortgage fraud, for checking the wrong box on these loan applications. And so what would be interesting is if he says that actually this whole time, all along, Schiff has maintained that, yes, he is a full-time resident of Burbank. He is a primary resident of Burbank, California, where his district is. It looks really bad if you're trying to represent people, but that's not where you live. It's not even allowed under House rules. Also, it would be voter fraud if he was claiming that he could vote in California if he was actually a Maryland resident. But what's interesting is the Maryland penalties are much stricter than the California penalties. So if justice were to be done, Adam Schiff's best argument would be to say, actually, I have been a Maryland resident all along, because he would want to avoid the 20-year prison sentence.
Which means he was never qualified to be the senator of California.
That mortgage fraud could carry in that state.
Incredible point. And that is something I guess the other lawmakers haven't really faced. They come from states that are a little more lenient about this. But again, Democrats seem to get away with this kind of stuff. I know you cover corruption and political corruption on both sides of the aisle, but inordinately, Democrats get away with these kinds of games, shenanigans, and mistakes way more than Republicans do. And I don't see that changing anytime soon.
Well, here's the thing, Chanel. These could be federal crimes. And so if there is a change in the administration, I suspect a President Harris would look the other way on her good friend from California, Adam Schiff. But a Trump presidency, a Trump DOJ could prosecute these crimes. Now, Adam Schiff will likely argue that the statute of limitations has run out on some of these things. It was, quite a while ago.
Rob?
However, because the statute of limitations actually only kicks in for certain crimes once upon the date of discovery, which is very recently, actually. Most people did not know about this until very, very recently. This complaint filed by Christine Bish was not filed until this year.
And also the statute of limitations for criminal fraud, at least in some states, is a lot longer than than civil fraud. So I don't know what the statute is. Somebody put it in the comments if you know what the statute for criminal fraud is in California as well as Maryland. And again, if it was a federally guaranteed loan, I don't believe there's a statute of limitations for that. But somebody put it in the comments if you know.
Some of these details, some of this evidence means that no one knew about these things until just recently. So the statute of limitations may not kick in. Federal crimes are prosecuted by the DOJ. Trump would have an opportunity to have, the Trump DOJ to investigate these matters.
Oh, that's an excellent point. But then didn't you say that some of these allegations had popped up a few years ago with Schiff? I guess not conclusively.
Not conclusively. There is a potential whistleblower, someone who is willing to come forward. We're still talking to him, who worked in the mortgage company, who saw these things and said, this is perjury, said what Adam Schiff has done is perjury. And so, when a whistleblower can come forward and bring forth new evidence that no one else would have had access to, that would bring up the statute of limitations potentially.
Interesting. No, that's that's an angle I think that hasn't been pointed out before. Well, you know, Schiff is such an interesting player, and I say that, I use that word carefully, but it's hard to look at Adam Schiff with a straight face. This is a man who has for years manufactured storylines against Donald Trump just to sully the entire Trump presidency. He's manufactured evidence about Russian involvement, or at least promoted documentation that was clearly not true, and with a straight face would tell the world that Trump was involved in Russian oligarchs and he was, you know, meddled with the election. And here's Schiff himself trying to stand up and say he's a credible guy. It's a joke.
Yeah, it totally is. I mean, it's there in black and white. We've got all of the documents posted on thedrilldown.com. These have been, submitted by Christine Bish to the House investigative committees, and it's pretty much smoking gun. I mean, he can say that he screwed up, but many other average Americans have been convicted with far less evidence for this serious crime. And so, it really upsets people when you and I have to live by all of the rules. And then someone like Adam Schiff, who is loaded off of all of his, policy, he gets very rich being a congressman. We don't know how these people like Nancy Pelosi, stock queen Nancy Pelosi, get so rich off of their public service. But Adam Schiff has done extremely well for himself, and for him to be taking these additional financial benefits and not repaying them, he needs to repay as a form of restitution the benefits he got. These loans were federally subsidized, federally backed loans, and so taxpayers are on the hook for such loans. And so for him to be taking advantage like this is unconscionable.
I think the key to this whole conversation will be on when that statute of limitations actually kicks in. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of debate about that, but I think that's key to this conversation. Did it kick in back when it was discussed, back when, what is discovering, right? And that'll be a realm for the lawyers to argue, I'm sure. All right, Seamus, don't go anywhere.
Well, there you have it. Adam Shifty Schiff is now in the mix. Big Tish James out there in New York. And why is it always that the ones that scream the loudest and are rampaging the most are the most dirty? Adam Schiff did Russia, Russia, Russia. And look what it's led to. Come to find out that could be an allegedly illegal representative of California, even though he's a resident of Maryland, lied on several mortgage loan applications. And is going to try to say, I didn't know. Now, these folks brag about all their degrees. Letitia James, I think, went to Harvard or someplace. And she went to Howard University. Then you got Shifty Schiff and his degrees. And they talk about they're so intelligent and yada, yada when they're on the Senate and the House floor, or she's in front of that camera or the Trump court case. But when it comes to them committing crimes, all of a sudden they're like children and they didn't know any better. Even though they're both in the legal system, they didn't know any better. She's an attorney. He's a freaking former congressional member, now a United States senator, and you don't know when you lie on a mortgage application, you are committing fraud. Then you're committing federal fraud when you do it on a federal loan application and receive federal funds and federal benefits. So this is going to be good, and this is just the beginning. That's why every time they get Kash Patel or Pam Bondi or anybody up there in that seat, they try to say, you're not going to investigate, right? You're not going to investigate. I saw a congressional woman, Dean. What state? She's from Connecticut, I believe. She had Kash Patel up at the hearing and literally said that for him to be a good FBI director, the men and women of the FBI should not fear investigation. So what she's saying is, hey, listen, they shouldn't fear investigation. If they do something wrong, they should be investigated. If there's a thought that they're doing something wrong, they should be investigated. Any type of impropriety should be investigated. But see, the Democrats, they don't believe that. They don't believe they should ever be investigated. They should never be held accountable until now. So thank God, thank the Most High God that we got President Trump in there and not Kamala Harris and wild weenie Tim Walz. But if you watch the videos this far, thank you so much. Leave a comment. Tell me what you think. If you haven't already, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Most importantly, make sure that you be safe. You stay great. I'm Brian Maxwell saying I look forward to seeing you at the top. Over and out, y'all.
Thanks, Brian. I love that guy's show, man. So, guys, make sure to like and subscribe to Brian Maxwell's channel, too. I'm going to drop a link to that video so you guys can do that. Absolutely drain the swamp. I just don't get it how these Democrats just get away with everything. But if Trump does even one tiny little thing, man, it's all over, man. It is all over. So everybody, I am attorney Michael Leline. I'm an attorney licensed in California and Texas. I primarily do personal injury law, but I'm a natural law advocate. I'm a libertarian, so I don't support either political party. But you know, when someone hates someone, when the people that have been in power for years and they're making billions of dollars off the stock market, and when they hate someone like Trump, he must be doing something right. So it's always fun to watch that when these power brokers who claim multiple residence and become multimillionaires off of a taxpayer job, doing insider trades, and then say that they're not. This dude's been claiming that he's a resident in Maryland, but he runs for California senator. I mean, man, what a lowlife. And of course, they never worried about anything because they knew that they had Democrat Obama control of the FBI, Democrat holdover Obama appointees at the CIA, all of the government power structures, most of the judges, all hardcore leftist Democrats. So they felt safe. And now the chickens are coming home to roost, guys. And I warned everybody about this years ago. I said, if you guys do this lawfare thing in Washington, D.C., Georgia, and New York, and these Democrat strongholds, because you're going to get convictions against him because all the jurors hate his guts, right? So you're going to get convictions. If you guys do this, you guys are going to unleash a firestorm of hell once Trump gets reelected for the third time. And he did get reelected for the third time, but this time he actually got to take office. And so we're going to see what happens here. This is going to be a mind blower. So let's get into the next video. This is another DEI mayor that just does stupid crap. Of course, leftist. I don't know how they get into power, but it's usually with money from George Soros. And they get these low IQ mayors and they just do stupid shit. And then here's another example of what happens. Unbelievable. Good seeing you, James. Good seeing you, Kevin Brinarski, Kunya Parker, and Robert Thompson. Absolutely. Drain the swamp, bro. Drain the freaking swamp. Let's go.
And act as if we do not care about anything that anybody says.
When you got people that come out, Chicago flip red, bitch standing on business in Chicago. Listen to them. When they say, don't leave, don't leave. There was too many people in the room for them to come do something.
You can't have a voice. They don't want you to speak up with the injustice that's happening in the Black community.
I don't think that it's a good look for an alderperson to hit law enforcement officers. I don't think that she belongs in this position. The bottom line is she's an activist.
Since Supermayor Tiffany Hayard got the boot, you think things will calm down in the South suburbs, but nah.
Y'all should be ashamed of y'allselves. Getting up at press conference, talking about nothing. Learn the laws. I tell y'all that all the time. Learn from me. But because I'm younger than all y'all think y'all can't learn from me, huh?
Just 15 minutes away, and Harvey, Mayor Christopher Clark, says, you know what? Hold my gavel. What you're about to see is some straight up deja vu. A mayor obsessed with control, silencing critics, and even having his own alderwoman arrested multiple times. So today we're going to dive into the latest mess coming out of Harvey, Illinois, where democracy shows up, but definitely got kicked out of the room for clapping. Let's get into it.
Yeah, absolutely, Scott and Don. What a show indeed. Let me set the scene.
And by the way, guys, does this bring back memories of Lane Myers? He goes into a city council meeting where people are clapping for this jackass mayor or city council member, and Lane Myers boos and he gets arrested. And so we see that happening a lot with these far left Marxists. They think that the First Amendment only applies to them and not to people who speak out against them or their far left communist Chinese George Soros funded agendas. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree.
For you as well as for our viewers, Mayor Christopher Clark was not playing any games. He warned attendees in advance if there were any disruptions at tonight's meeting that he would indeed kick everyone out of the meeting. And that's exactly what happened. Take a look at tonight's city council meeting. Harvey residents once again frustrated with Mayor Christopher Clark's practices, calling them, quote, illegal, unfair, and unjust. The room packed with supporters of Second Ward Alderwoman Colby Chapman. I'll tell you why shortly.
So let's just get some ground rules if you haven't been familiar with this story. So this is Harvey, Illinois, not exactly the first place you think of when someone says a hotbed of political chaos. It's kind of similar to Dalton, where there's a lot of corruption, there's a lot of issues in the area. And this is not just about one chaotic meeting either. Mayor Clark has a string of controversies. So from alleging retaliation against city employees who question his decisions to accusations of shady financial moves, this man has built a track record that is basically rivaling the super mayor.
Tension in suburban Harvey continues to grow. Residents taking their fight to the street in a peaceful protest. Where are the licenses? Finally, outside Harvey's municipal center, residents holding signs. One of them saying, quote, Mayor Clark is worse than Tiffany Henyard.
Damn, they're not playing around with that one. There have been concerns about contracts going out without proper oversight, politically motivated firings, and the aggressive policing of city council meetings, as you guys are going to see in a couple of seconds, all adding to the growing narrative that Clark's more interested in control than community. And we cannot forget about the public outcry over closure of certain services, local programs being quietly stripped away, or the alleged mishandling of city funds some watchdogs have been trying to investigate. So a lot of people believe that this is not a random situation. It's a formula: control the narrative, silence critics, and consolidate power. That's why the heat is rising. The mayor is not just dealing with the pushback, he is creating it.
100.
And every controversy adds another log to the fire that's slowly burning away. If you've been following this channel for a while, you know that we covered Mayor Christopher Clark a few times. And like I said before, some folks even say that Harvey is worse than Dalton. And considering what we have seen for the super mayor, that is saying a lot. Christopher Clark, who clearly missed the memo on what public service.
Hey, James, in Lane's defense, aside from getting locked up, I think he's done a terrific job, and I've got a lot of respect for him. But I have said it many times. I think if he was a little bit more mellow, he would still be able to say his piece without interrupting people and pissing off the judge. But, you know, whatever, it is what it is. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to support him. So let's get back into it.
This means has turned these meetings into hostile territory for anyone with a question, a complaint, or even a slow clap. So this last meeting, it was packed. Most of them were there to support 2nd Ward Alderwoman Colby Chapman. And you guys are going to see exactly why they're supporting her in the first place. Let's continue to check it out.
Now, during public comments, residents asked for transparency on spending. They complained about water bill increases without notification. They also said their rights to address concerns were being censored. Mayor Clark cleared the packed room about 20 minutes in after someone began clapping.
And again, I encourage you all to speak up and stand up and consider to come to meetings. Because things are happening and it's under our nose. That is not right. That is not democracy. If it continues, there needs to be a change to the administration.
All right, guys, get up. We're gonna go now.
Can you stand on recess for 10 minutes, please?
You cannot clap with Mayor Christopher Clark. He is not playing. If you guys been checking out Dalton and a lot of those meetings way back in the day, that had a chief by the name of Louis Lacey, and he did not like any clapping either. He wanted to clear the room if people were going to continue to make noise, you know, show any level of emotion, maybe just show some enthusiasm. Being in these meetings, maybe you want to clap, maybe you want to cheer when someone says something that's you agree with. But apparently this type of thing doesn't happen in these meetings. Clark does not deal with it at all. Like what the reporter said earlier, he does not play around because Mayor Clark is already on high alert. He warned everyone that if there was going to be any distractions, he'll shut it all down. And then someone clapped. Clapping. Yeah. The same thing folks do when they see a kid graduate or maybe when the waiter finally brings you wings. But in Harvey, that's a felony, apparently.
We cannot have a say-so. We cannot show emotion. We have to sit here and act as if we do not care about anything that anybody says.
You can't have a voice. They don't want you to speak up with the injustice that's happening in the Black community. They're displacing us out of our communities. They're taking our homes.
So this is a very interesting part of the story. So this is what I call the real core of the story. It's not really about the clapping or just even being a little loud. It's about control. It seems like there's a pattern here, shutting down any form of public expression unless it's probably praise for the mayor. If you dare show frustration, you're out. And this strategy of controlling the room is always a terrible idea, especially when you are a public servant.
And by the way, that is precisely what the Biden administration did for the last 4 years. They used their friends at the CIA and the FBI to put pressure on Twitter and Facebook to censor posts that went against anything that the Biden administration stood for. They censored the true Hunter Biden laptop story. They used their friends at the CIA and the FBI to say that it was potentially Russian disinformation. They did the same thing about the things they tried to make mandatory that you're still not allowed to talk about on YouTube, lest you get banned. That's how much power the people that finance that political party are. They can literally shut down your YouTube account if you say anything bad about this certain thing that they wanted to make mandatory on people that I dare not even speak about because I've had my channel had a strike against it just for talking about it, because they try to create a false sense of majority. And that the left is really good at that, creating a false sense of majority, trying to make it look like the majority of people support tampon machines in the boys' room, that the majority of people support boys playing in female sports, which we know the vast majority of people do not support this nonsense. But when they censor and control all the news, like National Public Radio, Reuters, all these far left Democrat-run news agencies, Communist News Network, PMSNBC, they try to create a false sense of majority. And they are doing it right here before your very eyes at this city council meeting. So you can see with your own eyes, I'm not just like saying this stuff. And again, I'm not a partisan politician kind of guy. I'm a libertarian. I think both parties are terrible. But I think most of us know, and give me a bunch of ones if you agree, that the Democrat Party has controlled about 90% of the news media for the last 60 years until Fox News came along. So let's get back into the show.
Leaders are supposed to serve the people, not police their emotions. Clapping, cheering, even groaning. That's democracy in action. It shows people that are engaged. It shows that they care. And when you strip that away, you're not creating order. You're just creating resentment. You're going to create chaos. So what Mayor Clark is doing is not just tone deaf, it's dangerous, because when people feel that they can't speak up, they either shut down or explode. And in a town that's already on edge, treating every passionate response as a threat just pours more gasoline on the fire. Trying to control everything doesn't mean you're leading. It means you're clinging. Real leadership is being able to sit through criticism without calling the cops. It means you can hear hard truths and still show up for the next day. But it looks like Clark's approach, throwing everyone out for clapping, is a textbook example of how insecure leadership turns public service into basically personal protection. And let's not forget, the louder the silence gets in that room, the louder the anger will be outside of the room. You cannot mute a community forever.
I don't like it. I'll be frank, I don't like it, but what I would like...
You don't like what? What don't you like?
I don't like the fact that there's so much disruption and we're not able to take care of city business.
Oh, I'll put a little clip of that Alderman Tyrone Rogers. He is a big fan of the mayor. And if you talk back when he's talking, he will scream at you as well. I guess it's okay when Tyrone does it, but not when the residents do it.
144th and Halsted was deemed uninhabitable by professional, certified code enforcement officers. Not the police department, not the fire department. Now, for example, hear me good, and I didn't interrupt you, and don't interrupt me. Now,
I mean, could you guys imagine having a public servant like this? I mean, it's no wonder they support Marxists, right? Because they're copying the Chinese communist ideals where they shut you up, they try to silence you, they use their friends at the police department or code enforcement to try to shut you down. And this goes on all over Chicago and New York like gangbusters. They're replacing all the locals and all the black people that live there with illegal aliens. And it's getting out of control. And you're seeing it, man. The black communities, they're voting Republican now. And so I don't know what's going to happen, guys, but I'm just seeing this stuff, the dynamics changing here. Somebody put it in the comments. What do you think is going on? I just find it really weird that they call these city councilmen, say that it's their people, right? But they're trying to replace them with people that just snuck across the border illegally, 20 million of them. Kind of blows my mind. What do you guys think? I'd like to hear your opinions.
Hold on, man. I want us to keep it civil. Okay. I would appreciate, we're holding time on this. Okay. We would appreciate if you would refrain. When everyone got up and did their public comment, it was nice, it was easy, and we listened. Please do the same. Thank you.
And take a look at this cell phone video now viral on social media. Second Ward Alderwoman Colby Chapman being physically removed by Harvey police during a council meeting last month. She says officers bruised her arms in the process.
That resolution number is 4005.
Thank you.
And take a look at the comment above by the gentleman from California, my good friend Rami. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree that all municipalities are organized crime outfits. Give me a bunch of twos if you believe in homesteading, if you believe in homeschooling, and getting your kids as far away from a municipal corporation as possible. Let's get back into the show.
Next item on the agenda is a resolution approving a redevelopment agreement for Blue Crest Estates LLC. This resolution approves a redevelopment agreement between the City of Harvey and Blue Crest Estates for the purpose of rehabilitating black property located at 60 East 155th Street, Harvey, Illinois. The chair will entertain a motion to approve. There's a motion by the third, a second by the sixth. Is there a debate?
Yes, call the question.
There's a motion called question.
This is so, Ms. Allen, unfortunately.
Is there a second?
Ms. Smith had called the question.
Is there, you are out of order. You are out of order.
Ms. Allen.
You are out of order. That's the second time. We are not going to continue calling you out of order. And please do not allow the disruption. We are not going to disrupt this meeting. Is there a second?
Why are you all moving?
This is the last time I'm going to ask again. After that, I'm going to ask for a motion to censure and removal.
That is unfortunate that Ms. Allen can't make a
The chair will entertain the motion to censure and remove the second Ward alderperson from the meeting.
There's no democracy in that. And the people
we have a motion to second for
the opportunity for the minority voice.
There's a motion for censure. There's a second.
Ms. Allen, they don't want to at 60 East 154th Street.
Hey guys, so much for power to the people, right? As soon as this dude gets a little bit of power, all of a sudden his so-called people are no better than anyone else, right? And that's the problem with power-hungry people. And that's why I really despise most politicians. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree. Anybody who wants power is not somebody that you want in power. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree with that as well. Let's get back into it.
Point of order. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Nay. Hearing none, because they don't have votes. Please escort the second Ward Alderwoman from the council chambers. Thank you.
Don't touch myself. You should know that from the lawsuit.
I'm trying to think I'm getting a little bit aggressive.
Hey!
Hey,
don't keep coming out. Don't keep coming out.
necessary. FTC.
Stop. Y'all see it? Get it all on video. Why you put your hands
Thank you. So, there was, and there still is,
Chapman was trying to address the mayor about a resident's property being sold, but Mayor Clark would not acknowledge her, saying she was out of order.
Alderman Colby Chapman is becoming the face of resistance in Harvey.
Her saying
You guys see that bruise on her arm? I mean, are you kidding me? This dude is a freaking tyrant, and he definitely deserves to be in prison. Those police he is vicariously liable for the actions of his officers. There's an easy way and a hard way to do things. And obviously that was a heated moment. That woman was unhappy. The way that those cops manhandled her, to me, was totally inappropriate. And in my personal view is, you don't put your hands on a woman. I'd rather shut down that meeting than allow something like that to happen to her. That, to me, that was absolutely hideous. I don't care if you're black, brown, green, orange, come from Mars. We're all God's children. And what he allowed to have happen to her is a disgrace. Look at her arm. I mean, are you freaking kidding me? What kind of a man would ever do that to a woman? Hey, thank you, James. I appreciate that, brother. Thank you for the $10 donation to Team MPE. As you guys know, I always appreciate a super chat and a donation. But one thing I like even more is when you double tap that screen and you save these videos for later viewing and hit that notification button, and do it often, because we know that YouTube, especially with guys like me who speak the truth, likes to go ahead and disconnect you from that notification to your subscribers. And I want to thank all of y'all. Over the last couple of weeks, I've gone from like 23,000 or something subscribers to almost 50,000 subscribers. My goal is to hit 50,000 by tonight, but that's going to take a lot. But get the word out there about me and my channel, guys. And good seeing you, Jody Shiloh. Thank you, Rami. Thank you, James Forbes. Yeah, man. It's, here's the problem with, okay, check this out. Here's the big problem that I have with the DEI and the affirmative action and the critical race theory is that it teaches hatred. It creates feelings of hatred in one race against another. And that's from our government that's allowing that to happen. And when you do that, you allow people like this asshole to pick winners and losers. I'm always of the mind that we have to treat everyone with respect, irrespective of their race, or even if they're, like some dude who dresses like a chick or whatever. You've got to treat people with respect, guys, because it can happen to you once they get the majority. You always have to remember that. They will come for you if you treat them poorly. It's very important that we always treat each other with decency and respect. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree. Absolutely hideous what happened to her. I'm absolutely devastated. If that was my wife, I probably would be doing life in prison right now. That is unacceptable behavior, to lay your hands on a female like that.
She was out of order.
Alderman Colby Chapman is becoming the face of resistance in Harvey. And she just keeps getting shut down. She's trying to speak up about a property that was allegedly being sold behind her residence. It's been pretty crazy. And obviously she got physically removed from this. You see her arm is bruised. Her mother was arrested too.
Chapman and her mother were arrested and later charged with disorderly conduct and resisting arrest. The older woman herself was also charged with...
Okay, now here's the other problem with resisting arrest. I've always had a problem with this charge. Is, first of all, you have to have committed an arrestable offense. And so you can't resist arrest until you're under a lawful arrest. She didn't do anything that would have allowed her, at least in California or Texas, to be placed under arrest. Now, the right thing to do, a real man would have allowed her to say her piece or simply ended the meeting. But what he did by laying his hands on her like that, she was not being violent. She would have left on her own accord. She simply wanted to be treated with dignity. And what he did to her is an absolute disgrace. And I'm absolutely infuriated that a man would ever allow that to happen. It reminds me of something P. Diddy would do to his woman, not a man who's supposed to be a public servant in an office of public trust. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree. And thank you, Quanah Parker. I really do appreciate that. Guys, give me a bunch of ones for Quanah Parker. She is a new member. And, you know, Quanah has been real loyal to the team, and she's been hanging out with us quite a bit. And so you know what's going to happen right now, Quanah. Quanah, you just became one of my moderators. Everybody give me a bunch of ones for Quanah Parker. She is a new moderator at Team MPE. But Quanah, remember that with great power comes great responsibility. The main reason that I give people the moderator insignia is so that other moderators will know not to ban you or try to time out your comments, because I believe that you believe that God is your creator and that our rights come from our creator and not from the state, and that you believe in forming parallel systems and treating people with decency and respect, like all members of Team MPE. And so now that you've become a member, you'll get to wear the private first class chevron that I have for my subscribing members. And because to me, the Marine Corps is the ultimate symbol of a true melting pot of people who come from all walks of life, but no, to the left of them or to the right of them isn't the skin color or race, but it's somebody who would take their body back home to their mother or die for them if necessary to make sure that they might live. And I just love my Marines. So that's why you get to wear that PFC chevron. So let's get back into it, guys. But thank you so much for being a loyal member now. And now you're a moderator, guys. So make sure to like and subscribe to Quanah.
Battery. Mayor Clark saying she hit the officer during the arrest.
I don't think that it's a good look for an older person to hit law enforcement officers. And I think that that's one of the stories here that need to be taken care of, because the simple fact is what she did. I don't think that she belongs in this position. The bottom line is she's an activist.
I don't see a hit, maybe a little bit of a bucking, kind of like a little, but I didn't see a strike, as he said. I mean, if she struck the officer, that another charge would be basically striking a police officer. So I didn't see that. You let me know in the comments below if you thought that Kobe assaulted a police officer. I didn't see that. She probably did a little bit of a pushback, but I didn't see a strike. I mean, her arm looked pretty bruised compared to anything that may have happened with any of the police officers.
She wants to be the man and fight against the man. She wants to be the government and fight against the government.
I did not hit an officer, push an officer on my way out of the council. Nobody should have to ingest physical behavior simply for inquiry. And unfortunately, I digested that. But the bruise has gone away. The memory never will. And I'm simply pushing forward.
She's tall. I wonder how tall she is. I wonder if she played basketball. But anyway, that's not really important right now. So this is not just a personality clash. According to Chapman, this is retaliation. Chapman speaks up, and instead of debate or discussion or compromise, as most of these are supposed to be, even with the mayor, they need to come together, try to figure out what's going on. But instead of having those debates, having those discussions, she gets the squad of cops pulling her out of there. She's been arrested twice and been kicked out of 3 meetings. You know who else gets that kind of treatment? Protesters in authoritarian regimes, not elected officials in a U.S. suburb.
And after attendees were put out of the meeting, about 20 minutes past, they were let back in. The meeting resumed for about 30 minutes or so, and then it promptly ended. We will tell you that this is Chapman's second time being arrested, her third time being put out of a meeting because of disorderly conduct claims against her. We do know that Chapman and her supporters are continuing to call for federal investigation into the township's practices and Mayor Christopher Clark himself. As the latest from Harvey, Nate Rogers, Fox 32 Chicago.
So shout out to Fox breaking this down. The one thing they didn't really discuss the situation with the house in this news clip about taking away their homes. So this is what exactly is going on. A house being sold for $2,000. So this is where the real fire starts. The residents aren't just mad that the mayor is acting like he's the king of Harvey. They're mad because of what he is doing with people's homes. So a senior's property was reportedly sold to a private investor for $2,000. $2,000. That's way less than I pay in rent right now in Brooklyn. And that's probably less than what some folks pay for rent in a one-bedroom apartment in Chicago. Imagine your family home, the one that you lived in for decades, suddenly gets snatched and sold off for pennies on the dollar to a private investor. No warning, no public input, just gone. And when someone in city halls tries to raise questions about it, they get silenced and kicked out, or worse, arrested. How is that even possible? Well, it starts with distressed property laws, tax liens, and murky real estate procedures that most residents don't even know exist. In cities like Harvey, where government transparency is already a joke, has become all too easy for certain officials or insiders to exploit the system. If a homeowner falls behind taxes or deemed delinquent, the city can legally auction off that home, sometimes without notifying the residents in a clear or timely manner. And because the property values in these economic...
Yeah, and so what that's called is, it's called a forced sale. And this is a reason why I think that property taxes should be abolished everywhere. If scumbag government employees, they want to have fair play, well, we know what really happens, guys, is they become friends with the local real estate developer who donates money to their campaign, right? All of a sudden, their so-called people don't matter anymore, and they're doing a tax sale, right? A forced sale. And they'll auction off the home, and they'll use the proceeds to pay off the tax lien. And then whatever's left over, after, and they'll get it in, they'll do their own appraisal really low, right? And they'll give the citizen a couple $1,000 or whatever, right? And then the government keeps the home, condemns it, or does whatever they want, or sells it off to the real estate broker who's buddies with the mayor and the government employees. We see this happening all the time. Especially in Democrat cities like New York and Chicago, it's just unbelievable what these guys get away with. And if you say anything about it, they'll try to call you a racist or something. But it's all they're just hiding behind epithets. You guys know what I'm trying to say. And it's just getting worse and worse and worse. Guys, we have to get away from this whole skin color thing and get back into putting people in power who are trustworthy and honest. We have to start judging people by the content of their character, not by their skin. It's just ridiculous what's happened on light speed under Biden and Obama. Unbelievable what they've done.
The challenge areas are already pretty low. Homes can sell for shockingly small amounts, like $2,000. But that doesn't mean it's ethical or just or done in the community's best interest. It's just a loophole that's being abused, a fast track for outside investors to swoop in, buy low, and potentially flip for profit, while longtime residents are left homeless or blindsided. This isn't just bad policy. This is economic displacement dressed up in illegal paperwork. When city leaders don't provide clear answers or protections, it starts to feel like they're in on the game. That's why people in Harvey are pretty mad, not because of someone lost their home, because it feels like the system is rigged and those in power are the ones pulling the strings. I mean, I think in that situation, if you are going to start auctioning off someone's home, if they are behind in taxes, at least they should know about it. At least should be some kind of time saying, hey, you're falling behind on certain things. You got to get up to speed and pay these taxes, or your home is going to be taken from you. Something, at least in my opinion. But let me know in the comments below. Do you agree with this situation, or do you believe that the home was sold legally and it is what it is? Let me know in the comments below. But despite all the chaos, a lot of Harvey residents aren't giving up. Just similar to Dalton, they're showing up for these meetings. They're demanding answers, including Chapman, and they're calling for outside help, federal help. So that's where we are right now. Folks are literally asking the feds to step in, because if the local leaders are ignoring you, arresting you, and selling your neighborhood out from underneath you, what other option do you have? So this wasn't just some messy meeting. This is systematic rot. This is a war.
That's right. And so what you can do then is ask the federal government to come in and investigate the local municipality for violations of equal protection, civil rights violations, right? As applied, like argue that the way they're applying the statutes to deprive people of their property is unconstitutional. But the problem is a lot of these inner city folks are very low educated, right? They've been brainwashed by the government that as long as they vote for someone who looks like them, that they're going to be safe. And they're just have very low education. The public school systems in a lot of these cities don't teach math or English because they say it's racist, right? And so we have a really low information voter, and they don't know how to get legal help. They don't know how to protect their property or their assets from these corrupt government officials who are basically toys and tools of the bankers. That's really what it is at the end of the day. These bankers put these morons into power, and they have low information voters. They're easy to manipulate, and they just strip them of all their wealth. And it needs to stop, guys. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree. Another reason to homeschool your kids. Get your kids off of the opium of the public school system. Start teaching your kids classical education. Start teaching your sons and daughters how to be entrepreneurs, not to become professional baristas at Starbucks with a degree from Howard or from Harvard, right? It's a worthless degree. Teach them how to be electricians. Teach them how to run their own business. Teach them how to have their own YouTube channel. Get them off the government cheese. That's what I got to say about that. So let's get into the next one. Wait a minute. I got to share one more thing with you. Give me a bunch of ones if you think this picture is beautiful. The mugshot that America deserves. What do you guys think? Ooh, yeah, baby. All right, so let's get into the next video. So this is another DEI mayor that just went wild. We're going to get into unbelievable stuff going on in this country, guys. Wow, wow, wow.
Because your office hasn't answered it. Can you explain why no department in the district has a copy of your travel expenses for your trips to Miami in 2022 and Dubai in 2023? And why did you exclude them from your financial disclosure records? 7 News would like to know, how can any big city mayor fly all over the world on official business and not keep clear records of who paid for it?
We got another mayor out here spending a lot of money on travel. I tell you, it never ever ends. Another mayor, another mystery trip. This time it's Mayor Muriel Bowser from Washington, D.C., flying high and dodging questions like she's Neo from the Matrix. It just shows that, in D.C., dysfunction is on full display.
My team has reported on for months. Is D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser violating any D.C. code by not declaring trips to Miami, Dubai, and the Masters as gifts? Investigator Scott Taylor is still looking for answers.
When you have a politician like Mayor Bowser who refuses to sit down and answer my questions on camera, you have to dig deep, ask questions in news conferences, and request a lot of documents. That is exactly what we have done for months, and we are still not getting answers from Mayor Bowser.
So this is a huge problem here, a huge problem. You shouldn't need an FBI task force just to get some answers about a vacation or a trip or whatever. This is what's wild here. This reporter and this news team have been digging for months and still no answers because Bowser doesn't want to give any answers. If this was a regular employee, someone working on a city payroll or teaching in a public school, and they did something like this, they'll be suspended immediately, probably being fired. But it's a powerful politician, so we get dodges, delays, and silence.
Last year, Susana Castillo, the mayor's director of communications, gave 7 News wrong information twice on who paid for the Dubai trip. She claimed DC's Chamber of Commerce paid for it. Not true. And then she said U.S. Conference of Mayors picked up the bill. I just discovered that is also not true. This letter from the Embassy of Qatar to the executive office of the mayor says Qatar paid more than $61,000 for the entire trip and called it an in-kind donation. DC has no record of a donation agreement between the district and Qatar for the trip, which is required by DC code.
Let's be honest, this is not just about Dubai and why a mayor is going to Dubai. I can't answer that question. This is a mindset of entitlement for some of these corrupt officials. Mayors like Hanyard or Mayor Kobe or that mayor back in St. Louis. Mind you, all those mayors are no longer here, but this person got reelected. And the problem is once they get elected, reelected, that the rules don't apply to them anymore. So meanwhile, DC itself has a lot of issues. People are frustrated over the crime rate, the crumbling public infrastructure, and the unaffordable housing. And the people are noticing Bowser's approval ratings have dropped below 50%. It's hovering around the low or mid 40s, depending on the poll, but it's still the lowest in her mayoral career. And it's no surprise. You can't keep breaking your own ethics rules and expecting people to continue to cheer you on. This is the taxpayer money. That's the trust in your city. You can't treat it like a side hustle for free flights.
After months of investigating, the 7 News I-team is asking one simple question. Did DC Mayor Muriel Bowser violate DC's code of conduct on 3 trips she made in the past 2 years? A trip to Miami in 2022 to take part in the fall leadership of the U.S. Conference of Mayors. A second trip to Dubai last year to attend the United Nations Climate Conference, plus a third trip on a private jet to this year's Masters golf tournament in Augusta, Georgia.
By the way, just really quick, how many of you guys, I mean, I want to take a poll here. I mean, I know it's not scientific, but how many, give me a bunch of ones if you buy into this whole man-made climate change thing. Give me a bunch of ones if you believe it. Give me a bunch of twos if you think it's just a bunch of hogwash to try and increase taxes and make it possible for all these politicians to go to these seminars and these events in Dubai where they can go and meet their little hookers and, you know, eat lobster and crab at taxpayer expense. Twos if you think it's a scam. I'm sorry, twos if you think that twos if you think it's, ones if you think it's a scam, twos if you think that it's real. Strike this. Okay, so ones if you think it's a way for them to raise taxes, travel around the world, use your tax dollars, because we know that a volcano creates more damage to the climate than thousands of years of man-made smog, right? And then twos if you think that it's legit and that I'm just a crazy person or a whack job. So that's what I want to know. One, right? All right. I don't know what I said, but you know what I mean. One, if it's a scam. Two, if it's not. All right, let's get back into it. Man, I'm having a rough one today, guys. Took some back pain medicine for my back, and I'm kind of wiped out. Let's get into it.
The Miami and Dubai trips, according to Bowser's office, were paid by the U.S. Conference of Mayors. Through a Freedom of Information Act request, the I-Team has discovered the district doesn't have any receipts with Bowser's name on it for the Miami or Dubai trip.
What is going on? Seriously.
Yes, Robbie.
Why are these mayors who are running, regardless of the size of the place, they're running a city, what purpose do Mayor Bowser need?
So far, I don't see any twos. And this is the problem, guys. When you have the leftist, Marxist-run news media, right? Tax subsidized like NPR, Reuters, another far left, might as well be Chinese communist news media, controlling the narrative for the last 60 years and silencing anybody who talks about it on social media and shutting them up like they do in Canada and California, right? How do you know what science really believes when the scientists are getting billions of dollars to be experts, right? I'll pay you X amount of dollars if you say that this is real. Do you even trust the scientists? I don't. Look, I know that a volcano can do more damage to the atmosphere than a tailpipe can. So I have a real problem with this. So it looks like my semi-scientific poll of my members, so far, all of them believe that it's a scam. So it just kind of blows me away that they brainwash our kids to buy into this crap in the public schools the same way they try to convince little kids that there should be tampon machines in the boys' bathroom or restroom. So that's all I'm seeing. What do you guys think? Give me a bunch of ones if you agree with me.
The DC mayor to go to Dubai. On what purpose is this? Why are they going to Miami? What is happening? What is going on here? What a waste of money. Clearly, there's something going on here. I'm just going to say right now, there has to be something going on here.
Not a hotel, plane ride, or a single meal.
Again, so let me get this straight. She flew internationally, stayed in Dubai, probably dined like royalty, and there's no paper trail. That's impossible. Either she's intentionally used someone else's account to hide her name, or documents got scrubbed. And if that's the case, then this isn't just a missing receipt. This is cover-up behavior. She's the mayor. You don't accidentally leave out an international trip from the records. That's like you forgot you went to the Super Bowl, because it doesn't happen. And we have to ask ourselves, what else is behind the scenes? This whole setup smells like there's something way bigger being hidden. There's a level of secrecy here that suggests that this isn't just about a couple of missing receipts. It feels orchestrated, coordinated, protected. That's why people don't trust the government anymore. The folks at the top are moving like scammers with LinkedIn titles. And when the system protects them instead of holding them accountable, it tells us one thing. Something really, really shady is going on. And we're only seeing the tip of it.
According to DC's Board of Ethics and Government Accountability, or BEGA, gifts made directly to the mayor should be disclosed on her financial disclosure statement annually. Both the Miami and Dubai trips are not listed as gifts on her 2022 or 2023 financial records.
And that's the smoking gun right there. DC ethics law says that any gifts, trips, hotel meals must be disclosed. It's basic. It's not optional. It's mandatory. But she just didn't list them. And the defense here is always the same. Oops, we forgot. This is a deliberate pattern. She knows the rules. She helped write the book on ethics for the city. You don't forget to list a $60,000 trip to Dubai. Sorry, a luxury trip to Dubai. And let's not forget, this isn't any city. This is Washington, D.C., the political capital of the United States. This is a very important place. The spotlight is always on. And when you're the mayor of the city and you're caught hiding major ethics violations, it's not just bad. It's pretty embarrassing and humiliating on a national stage. And you got to wonder, is she getting some kind of kickback? Allegedly. Because the moves like this doesn't happen in isolation. This is likely a network, some favors, some wink, wink, some nudges over there, some silent handshakes behind the curtain. And it's pretty pathetic and it's dangerous because if we allow this to slide, it's telling every future mayor, break the rules. It's fine if you do it quietly.
The district also doesn't have a donation agreement with the U.S. Conference of Mayors, so both trips are not considered a donation to the district. If a gift is accepted by the mayor and it's not allowed by DC code, Bowser would be in violation of the district's code of conduct. That can carry a fine up to $5,000 per violation or 3 times the amount of the gift. At a news conference, we asked that same simple question. We've been asking the mayor for months because her office doesn't return calls or emails, and Bowser refuses to sit down with 7 News for a one-on-one interview.
Because she's trying to hide it. She does not want to answer this question. So it shows that there's something wrong. There is something wrong, and she doesn't want to speak about it because who knows what is hiding behind that curtain.
Yes.
I'm asking this question at Scott Taylor 7 News because your office hasn't answered it. Can you explain why no department in the district has a copy of your travel expenses for your trips to Miami in 2022 and Dubai in 2023? And why did you exclude them from your financial disclosure records?
We're talking about the inaugural today, and we're happy to get back to you on any other questions. Yeah.
There's more.
This is the part it really pisses me off. You're the mayor. You're the one that traveled. The question is straightforward, and she acts like she's being asked about UFOs or something. She ducked the question like a guilty teenager. That tells me she knows she's in the wrong. You don't avoid questions unless the answers make you look bad. And honestly, this whole attitude is giving that Tiffany Hayard vibes, that Tiffany Hayard energy. You know, the same arrogance where the rules only apply to everyone else. These mayors act like they're on some kind of reality show, doing whatever they want, living lavishly, making moves behind closed doors. And when someone holds the mirror, they sprint in the other direction. They never want to take accountability, ever. It's extremely, extremely frustrating because the behavior trickles down to how these cities get run. When the boss is ducking the ethics and doing the wrong thing, the whole operation starts to rot. We've seen this pattern too many times, and Mayor Bowser just threw herself in the same category.
The mayor's office says Events DC, the arm of DC Sports Authority, reimbursed Edens, one of the district's largest developers, more than $5,000 for the mayor's private jet ride to the Masters in April. Events DC gave us a copy of an Edens invoice, which doesn't have any letterhead and doesn't resemble a typical corporate invoice. Eden says it was reimbursed by the city in June. The problem? Events DC can't supply any proof it actually paid Edens back for the jet ride. According to DC code, the mayor can't accept a gift from a prohibited source, which means a company doing business with the district. Edens qualifies as a prohibited source.
So let's break this down. So a private developer is Edens giving Bowser a private jet ride that allegedly gets paid back later by Events DC, except there is no proof of the payment. So here's the kicker right here. So Edens, a developer who allegedly funded this jet ride, raises more questions that Bowser needs to answer. Question number 1, what projects are they currently working on in DC? Number 2, how much tax relief or public funding have they received during Bowser's administration? And number 3, is there a pattern of cozy, undisclosed deals between Edens and Bowser's political allies or donors? Because if this developer is getting special treatment and that favor came with a private jet ride as a thank you, then we're not just talking about one ethics violation. We're talking about a potentially deep pipeline of corruption between the private money and the public office. They do millions in business.
Right. And we just discussed what they're doing, guys. So we got these so-called DEI hire mayors and politicians or affirmative action appointees. They go in, they cut deals with the land developers, and they start going after the so-called people of color in their own districts to get tax liens against them, to do forced sales on their property, and then give it to these guys. I mean, they're not standing up for their so-called people. They're standing up for their pocketbooks. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting to me. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree. And you're going to see that. So it's always some land developer. It's always some banker financing their political campaigns. And they sell out like that. Like as soon as they see a little bit of green, they have no more integrity towards their voter base, towards their constituency. A lot of these politicians would sell their own family member, throw them under a bus. That's the reality of the situation, guys. That's why we should only put people in positions of power who don't want to be there, and they only stay in for a very short period of time. Like Thomas Aquinas said, we should only put people into positions of power who know the law and mean to keep it well, just like in my bumper at the start of my show. Thomas Aquinas, John Locke, natural law. We always need to think about that. The government is a necessary evil. Less government means more freedom. Repeat after me. Less government means more freedom. Abolish all property taxes and return America back to a gold and silver standard where our currency is backed by something of intrinsic value other than the promises of some privately run Federal Reserve Bank and all these scumbag government employees who benefit and make a living and get huge pensions at your expense. Let's get back into it.
With the city. That's like your boss wife trying to buy you a Rolex and pretending like it's just a gift. That isn't a gift. That's a favor with strings attached. And you can get yourself in trouble for that one. And if that payment never happened, that means Bowser accepted a legal gift from a company her government was supposed to be regulating. That is conflict of interest 101. And what's going on with the DC Board of Ethics? What are they doing? I mean, there's a board, there's an Ethics and Government Accountability Board that's been completely silent in all this. Where are they? Why haven't they made a formal action? You got a mayor clearly ignoring disclosure rules, possibly accepting gifts from prohibitive sources, and repeatedly dodging accountability, yet crickets. This board was created to protect the integrity of the DC government. But when they sit on their hands while ethics violations are happening, they're out in the open, what message are they sending? If you're powerful enough, the rules don't apply, we're not going to bother you. Who appointed this board? Who are they accountable to? Because if they're just rubber stamping misconduct, they're not protecting democracy. They're basically enabling corruption. This isn't just a Bowser issue. This is a system issue. Until someone shakes the system, this will continue to happen again and again.
It receives up to $82 million in property tax discounts from DC to help rebuild the Union Market area.
So that was 5 months ago. Now we see what happened just a few days where the mayor finally admits what I think a lot of us already know.
For months now, 7 News has been trying to get answers about who exactly has been paying for DC Mayor Muriel Bowser's globe-hopping travel, most notably a $61,000 junket to the Middle East along with 4 members of her staff.
In spite of stonewalling by the mayor's office, I-Team investigator Scott Taylor uncovered that tour was paid for by the government of Qatar and was never approved as required under city rules established by the mayor herself. Finally, this afternoon, the mayor answered our questions.
Everybody give me a bunch of ones for Point Fire. My condolences to you living in a communist country like Canada. Hopefully you can come up with some way to get political amnesty so you can live in a somewhat free state like maybe Texas and come on down to the US of A. We'd love to have you here, buddy.
So, Scott, what did she have to say?
She had a lot to say, guys. On Monday, I was ready to drop another bombshell on this story. The mayor's office was claiming a March letter from Qatar somehow met paperwork requirements which needed to be filed and approved before she took that pricey trip in 2023. But that letter is missing vital information required by her own policy. Today, she finally talked to me about it all on camera. Why were you not transparent in 2023 according to rules of your own memorandum in 2015 about obtaining a donation agreement before you traveled to Qatar?
We should have, but that donation agreement has been completed.
But the donation agreement doesn't even follow your own rules. It's just a letter. It's missing 2 answers to questions that isn't signed by 2 district officials. Have you let other donation agreements come in just from letters and no invoices?
Like I said, we typically do the donation agreements according to, our best practices.
So that was a mistake by your office.
It was.
So she's blaming her office for this situation. She's not really taking accountability on herself that this is completely wrong. This is not how it's supposed to go. You can tell by her body language she's not comfortable with the question. She's not comfortable with the explanation. It shows that there's definitely more in the play here. This is corruption, as you can see it. Again, allegedly. So there it is. Bowser broke the rules. She's buried her seat. She's blaming her office. Obviously, she's still ducking accountability, just like a lot of disgraced mayors did before her. You got Hanier and Mayor Kobe. The same playbooks, different city. And if you don't hold these people accountable, they're going to keep flying private while the rest of us foot the bill. I mean, this is very, very odd situation. Clearly, there's some backroom deals. There's something going on behind the scenes that she doesn't want everyone to know. And the idea that this was just a whoopsie-doo, we don't know what's going on. It was just a little mistake, no big deal. And none of
Point Fire, I do want to have you on the show sometime to talk about Diagolon, as well as what happened with the truckers and the people who refused to take the injections, and how Trudeau shut down your bank accounts. He refused to let you buy things, declared you guys all domestic violent extremists and terrorists. And luckily you had at least a couple of decent judges on the Canadian Supreme Court to reverse all of that bullshit, but it didn't really help any of the truckers who lost their businesses, who went bankrupt, were unable to make their house payments. And that's what happens when you have a totalitarian, Marxist, communist, Democrat, for lack of a better word. And that is exactly what Newsom has tried to do to California, replacing all of the citizens with illegal alien criminals, giving them free shit out of your paycheck, guaranteed welfare check, voter for life, to create a single party system. And that's precisely what happened to Canada. And it's coming to a U.S. city near you if we don't take some serious action to protect our borders, defend ourselves from foreign invasion, and stop counting illegal aliens in the census. The Democrat Party will pick up 13 new seats as a result of the 20 million illegal aliens that Biden just let walk across our border. And it is a global thing that's being sponsored by people like George Soros, Bill Gates, and all these scumbags who hate the constitutional republic and who believe in population control. Yeah, they want to control the population. They want uneducated idiots who vote for people like this woman. And let's watch what happens when you vote for people like.
These records are written anywhere to kind of hide whatever that was being exchanged, the favors that were being exchanged. There's a lot of corruption in this. And this is Washington, D.C., where there's tons of corruption happening, obviously. So let me know what you guys think about this story in the comments below. And if you are continuing to watch this channel and you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. We're pushing to hit 100K subs.
Oh, yeah, he deserves way more than 100K subs. I mean, this dude right here, really quick, guys. And look, do me a favor, reach out to Hannibal for me. I'm going to real quick just give you his link. Hold on a minute. Stand by. Let me give you the link to this guy's channel. Do me a favor, guys. Reach out to Hannibal is Hungry. Make sure to like and subscribe. Let him know that I'd love to interview him sometime. I really like this guy. He is just, like, to me, this guy is like a living prophet. He really knows his stuff, and he is big time into government accountability. Him and Nate the lawyer, I would say, are my two faves right now when it comes to the DEI nonsense that the communist Marxist scum have forced us to deal with for the last 4 years. All right, and just really quickly, Quanta Parker, thank you for your great comments. AI could do it. The new, thank you. You're right. It is eugenicists, and they do want to destroy us. And I believe that they are Moloch and Baal worshipers. I do believe that it is a Luciferian satanic movement, and you can trace it all the way back to the P. Diddy parties, and what's his name, the guy with Epstein Island. They're all bankers. It can be traced back to the Middle East, to a certain country there, and the bankers. And it's just unbelievable how they've wreaked destruction on our children's minds with these blue-haired leftist public school teachers. Unbelievable what's happened in the last 4 years. Just crazy. And so Dad, hey, love you, Dad. Good seeing you. Dad says Zimmerman 2.0. But yes, most definitely point fire. I'm going to take a look at HateGate Canada. And let me see what else we got here. Beyond Watcher, thank you for showing up today. Sorry if I missed you guys. Selwyn, thank you for supporting Team MPE again, as usual. Rami, Wayne, Wayne, you're right. We do need to return to the gold or at least some kind of like the Bitcoin standard, maybe, where at least you have something that's backed by something of intrinsic value, right? As opposed to the promise of some scumbag politician who goes to climate change seminars where she can try to get more money so she can run for re-election from these bankers and these low-life scumbags who already have their underground bunkers set up. So why not fund a war where it's going to lead to a nuclear apocalypse? That's just going to clear out all the people that live on top of the land while they're down 1,000 meters below in their multi-billion-dollar underground palaces with thousands of miles of tunnels and all the babies and little kids that they smuggled across, right? That they can have their way with and make sacrifices to Moloch. All right, let's get back into it.
Application for the mortgage that they had on one, she had on one of the properties. So she and her father were in this. So she lists her father as her husband. And several of these properties she acquires. She claims she is the tenant, the resident, and she lives in these properties, but she can't because she wouldn't be qualified to be the attorney general.
Exactly.
So, I mean, it's like, this is just typical. Look at Fannie, and we're finding, Fannie Willis. We're finding that, in fact, what's going on with that is, it looks like allegedly she and Wade were engaged in embezzlement of public funds. Nobody had to approve her approval of his claims, and so far he got $720,000, which is probably why we got all those transactions, so she could split it. And if she
wait, he got how much money? Almost $1 million when he kicked off the case. Man, I need to look into that Fannie Willis story. I know she's recently getting sued from one of the people in her office right now because she lied about it in court, lied about her in court. So she's under hot water for that. But I didn't know homeboy got $700,000 out of it.
She hadn't acted a fool and gotten up and forgotten about her Fifth Amendment rights and testified, they probably could have split between $6 and $8 million. And now there is at least 10 million unaccounted for. We know, we've looked into it. That's $7.5 million to catch up on general prosecution that seems to have disappeared, that the state appropriated to her control. There's 2 million that goes along with catching up on sex crimes prosecutions, and there's 500,000 specially earmarked for juvenile prosecutions, and that total of 10 million has disappeared. So where did it all go to?
Wow.
So you have Letitia James for her mortgage fraud, of course, Fannie Willis and all that drama, embezzlement, and then Stacey Abrams with the $2 billion. So she's under investigation by the state of Georgia, but I'm pretty sure that is a congressional hearing that's probing her as well. So the latest update on Fannie Willis is basically from 3 weeks ago. It says congressional investigators are now targeting Fannie Willis staff and probe for politically motivated Trump prosecution. And it's another one, House Judiciary Committee presses Fulton's DA office for records, warrants of action. So and that's federal. And then the state, that was a month ago when they sent another subpoena saying this is the last and final warning, and even a judge said it, that they want her to testify. But it's supposed to happen this month in May.
She's supposed to have exercised the Fifth Amendment way back when. Now it's not a matter of Fifth Amendment. They are entitled to this because it is the state of Georgia having appropriated money to the county of Fulton. in the state of Georgia, and she's not particularly personally liable unless something comes up funny. So it's really peculiar. A state constitutional official says, I'm not going to supply you the records you're entitled to because doing so might incriminate me. Well, you need to guess what the remedy for that is. You resign your position, you defend yourself, and let somebody come in who is not going to compromise the public interest. That's how you handle that.
She lost 2 lawsuits for under Open Records Act. So there's nowhere else to hide, but everybody in Georgia is now quiet on the Fannie Willis saga. Now, real quick, going back to Letitia James, it says the government alleges that James falsified records to meet certain lending requirements to receive favorable loan terms. The feds claim James misrepresented the number of units in her Brooklyn home and falsely stated that her home in Norfolk, Virginia was her principal residence. By
the way, so New York is investigating that one, the building, with the 5 units.
And talk about how dumb she is, right? This is another example of why you don't put someone into a position of power based upon their gender or their race. You put them in based upon qualifications. This woman is so retarded that she literally signed all these documents, apparently not knowing that they're all publicly searchable records. And so all it took was some dude with it, like a high school education, went down to the public records department and pulled up all the records, and it's all there. I mean, she's got her dad and her both signed a document saying that they were legally married to each other. So now probably what's going to happen, here, let me just help you out. Again, I've been practicing law for over 20 years. I've done criminal defense, appellate law, civil rights law. Presently, I do catastrophic injury, so you can call me an ambulance chaser all you want, but I used to extern for the California Court of Appeal. I'm not an idiot, all right? What is probably happening right now is the feds will indict her. She will be indicted, probably by the state of New York as well, even though it's a leftist stronghold, because the evidence is so overwhelming, they have to save face. But what's going to probably happen is they're going to try to get a deal out of her by telling her that they'll go easy on her father, assuming her father is still alive. They'll go easy on her father because he basically participated, if these allegations are true, in a criminal conspiracy to defraud potentially the federal government as well as the state in exchange for a lower loan or a more favorable loan on this property. So this is really serious stuff, guys. So it just blows me away that she used this obscure statute to go after Trump, right? Which was not even designed to go after a large corporation where both sides had equal bargaining power. It had to do with people trying to run scams on low information voters in that state, like pyramid schemes. Had nothing to do with trying to go after somebody like Trump. And then, of course, she paid these expert witnesses to say that he overvalued his properties. He hired appraisers. The bank came back with their own appraisal value of the properties, and they struck a deal, and he paid back the loans. And mark my words, that case will be reversed on appeal. And more than likely, the other case, the criminal case, the 30 whatever convictions in the Democrat stronghold, that particular judge, Merchan, his daughter was raising money for the Democrat Party based upon a promise that her father would get convictions against Donald Trump. So I would say that there's a high probability, probably 99% or greater, that those convictions will also be thrown out. This is what they call lawfare, and this is what happens in communist countries. This is what happened under Joe Stalin. And I told you guys back then when all this was happening that if this happened, it was gonna unleash a hornet's nest, and all these prosecutors and judges that went after Trump, they're all going to be criminally prosecuted for something. Why? Show me the man or the woman, and I'll show you the crime. That's what's going to end up happening, guys. So let's keep going. Let's keep listening.
And in Virginia, of course, they're investigating that building or that home that she purchased with her niece.
Infractions could amount to criminal charges involving wire fraud, mail fraud, bank fraud, and making false statements to a financial institution. And people don't understand that when you lie on these applications, you can now have all these other criminal charges as in wire, mail, bank fraud.
Look here. I had a situation where I had quite a few properties around the country, and a certain bank had been forced to acquire some of the mortgage portfolio that got caught up in that thing a couple of decades ago with George Soros and all of that, who bought off Kamala Harris to get out of a mess in California. Now, what went on is they offered me, get this, less than 0.5% fixed rate mortgage on consolidation of all of the property mortgages I had. I said, oh, sure. So I filled out the paperwork. One of the questions was, are you now or have you been in the last 5 years subject to the civil suit? As far as I knew, no. Well, I get the FBI showing up wanting to know why I committed fraud. I said, what the hell are you talking about? It turned out the studio had intercepted quite a few summonses issued against the Judge Joe Brown show, and they didn't want me raising hell with them, so they didn't tell me, and they had some bozo law firm going down there standing in to represent me, and I've never heard of them, never talked to them, never signed a retainer, and the fools were sitting there in their ignorance conceding in this action in front of a California court of record that myself and the show were doing something under artistic license, which the state Supreme Court in a written decision back in 2000 said would get all of us put in jail. See, I said, how dare you? And I had to send them a copy of this doggone thing. It's a 23-page written opinion in the California Supreme Court officially declared me an appropriate arbitrator under California law and made everything I did real and enforceable. I even had contempt powers. So they said I was in final charge of the product and nothing could go on and be released if I didn't approve of it, which Hollywood hated, but I was the only one of the judge shows that had that going. So they sat there and they violated everything in that order in their effort to conceal from me that they were representing me. So I reached an agreement, and it was just absolutely atrocious. They ought to have all gone to jail and been disbarred. But see, there you go. I was innocent of the whole thing. They just backed off and said, we find you didn't have anything to do with this. But here's this woman doing this right now after she indicted a former or charged a former president of the United States of America with civil liability for this crap. And
why can't they go hard in the paint like that for Letitia James? It's because she's protected, right? She was protected under the Biden administration, protected by everyone in New York. She's the queen of New York, man. She can get away with anything. And she acts like she rules the world, essentially. And she does in New York, but not so much in Virginia. So I think in Virginia is where they're really going to get her. That's where they're really going to nail her down.
Then had the judgment to come up and say, look, we find that it is totally illegal where he values Mar-a-Lago at $13 million. Hell, you can't even buy a lot around the place for less than $1 million. And you know, I find it strange that the state of Georgia, what is it? They evaluated that at $96-some million, but she wants to say it's 13, and she's in the business of doing real estate evaluation. Oh, wow. That makes what she did.
Exactly, Dave. They were praying and hoping that Kamala Harris is going to win. Everybody was banking on it. They all knew they were going to do the most corrupt things to ruin this election, because they knew if they failed, then Trump is just he's gonna come after all of them, right? But they were really banking on Kamala Harris winning. Everybody.
It even worse, doesn't it?
I want to play this clip.
Seat and stand idly, and you want me to sit in my seat and stand idly by and allow this craziness to happen? You can come after me if you want, but you elected me to stand up. You elected me to use the law. You elected me to go to court. You elected me to continue to challenge this administration. You elected.
I love that woman behind her that like gets up and folds her arms. She's like, yeah, girl, you tell him. You tell him, girl. Get it, girl.
You elected me to continue to challenge this administration. You elected me to stand up for the least of God's children. You elected me to continue fighting on. And I will fight on. And you—
Wait a minute. Oh, can we pause a second? What is New York doing electing a local yokel district attorney to go after the president of the United States?
Well, New York State taxpayers may also be on the hook to pay her legal fees from this federal investigation.
And by the way, that's totally illegal. They are not alleging that the state of New York is involved. This is her personally, and ethically, she ought to be responsible for maintaining the expense of her own legal defense.
And we know that there was an ethical or an ethics complaint submitted, right? So there should be an investigation into that. And I think you notice how it all fell in line. Like first that ethics complaint went out and said, hey, she's using taxpayer funds because her office hired Abby Lowell, her attorney. The office hired him to defend her, right? And then they made this budget for New York, and in the budget they allow $10 million of taxpayer dollars to be used for legal fees for I guess any like the attorney generals or whatever. They can now use taxpayer money for any cases they see fit, and this happens to be one of them apparently. So it could be that they're now just, they put it in the paperwork, right, to get that ethics thing washed away.
Because Mayor Eric Adams, I think he's responsible for his own legal defense.
Yes. See, she's a hypocrite. Nobody hired her to do this. She's only supposed to enforce New York law, not interpose her little sick judgment on the rest of the United States of America about who ought to be president. That's totally illegal. It's unethical, let me put it this way. And she's saying this on the front end to get elected. So she goes in there predisposed. And see, the prosecuting office is not just there to put people in jail. It's to ensure justice. And there may be an occasion when the district attorney, the attorney general, the prosecuting authority, etc., looks at it, they may say, wait a minute, there's somebody that needs protection. That may be the nominal defendant, and say in the interest of justice, we not only don't need to bring charges, we need to deal with somebody else being charged. And see, she goes into this without being neutral and detached and objective, but with a specific motive here, which is to get rid of Trump. She didn't succeed. So now we have a Justice Department that is level. It's not trying to engage in lawfare. And it is going after what a whole lot of people who've been practicing law for a long time have said is an egregious violation of the law that has been overlooked and tolerated by the last administration's prosecutorial officials. And something needs to be done about it. So good riddance.
Ooh, yeah, good riddance for sure. But man, if Pam Bondi fails at this, that's the end of her. That is the end of her forever. Like, we already have a bad taste in our mouth because of the Epstein debacle, right? She said, we got the list right here. We're going to release everything we have, all the files, everything, release it all to the public. And then we got a piece of paper that was basically all crossed out, which I understand.
Yeah, how do you guys feel about that? I mean, it kind of makes you think that both political parties are basically the same, right? And they probably were all balling these little kids over at Epstein Island, and she put the kibosh on it. That's scary to me. Give me a bunch of ones if you think the reason why Bondi isn't releasing the list is because there's just as many Democrats that were involved in that child pedo ring as there were Republicans, and that's the problem. Because if that was the case, then we would actually have some honest people getting elected to office, and that could screw things up for the bankers and certain Middle Eastern countries that make a lot of money running our banking system. What do you guys have to say about that? Let's get back into it.
It was the name of the victims that were crossed out, but still, it's like nothing new, right? Nothing we didn't already know in the past. And so everyone just like said, oh, this is what Pam Bondi's doing. She's lying to us just like everybody else is, and then coming out there and doing nothing. I will say the Department of Justice is doing a lot right now. Like they've been arresting a lot of these illegal immigrants and these people that are, running these trafficking rings. We got, this big child trafficking, or I guess child something ring that was stopped not too long ago. I mean, they're arresting hundreds of people that are really doing egregious things in our country. So I'm not saying that she's not doing her job or anything like that. But still, and the fact they have this investigation going right now is good. And we got subpoenas going out, meaning they're asking people questions. They're investigating her office right now as we speak. That came out yesterday. Subpoenas were released from Virginia or I guess submitted from Virginia, and they're asking the questions to her people that are around her, like in her office and stuff like that. So we're going to hear more about that later. But, if Pam Bondi fails at this and Letitia James walks away clean, oh, it's over for Pam. Like her career, the rest of her life, it's done. It's a done deal. No one's ever going to trust her again.
And something needs to be done about it. So good riddance. I love it when some crook gets caught up.
Well,
alleged crook.
Alleged crook, yeah. I don't know if you've seen this in the news, but apparently they have put up a 20-foot tall statue in Times Square of a Black woman. Have you seen this?
Yeah, it's all over the world. They've been doing this.
Yeah, I've seen one in Italy. And one, it was gold in Italy.
There's one in Italy too. Oh, stop it, man. Come on.
Real person that it's modeled on, the statue adds about 30, 40, 50, 60, 80 pounds to the person. What's that?
It's the embodiment of the stereotype for Black women of today, right? Big, angry, got the hands on the hips, the attitude. You know what I mean? It's the embodiment of what people think of when you bring up Black women. It is what it is. It is what it is.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
What are they doing?
What I don't like it because.
What are they doing?
Why are you doing it? What is this supposed to represent? It doesn't represent me. What is this?
And it was a white woman that made it too? Oh my God.
Saying, I'm a strong Black woman. I'm the future. I'm a young, strong Black woman.
See, they keep saying that's a young woman. I'm like, that looks like a 40-year-old woman. Like, come on, 40-year-old that has some real scars.
Yeah, it looks like a 45-year-old woman, probably suffering from diabetes. She's going to be a candidate. She's going to be Big Pharma's favorite person for the rest of her life because she probably eats at McDonald's, right? Eats garbage food. And that's exactly what the government wants because they want to have you sick and on medication for the rest of your life. They don't want you in shape. They don't want you eating healthy. They want to blame some other race for all that. But at the end of the day, they just want to keep you hooked on Obamacare and as much pharmaceuticals as possible. Anti-cholesterol medicine, you name it. That's what that statue represents. It represents someone who's unhealthy and who's going to be sick for the rest of their lives. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree.
On her, like she looks worn. She looks seasoned. I'll say that much.
I guess you're supposed to be somebody that's being held up as the new model Negro or something.
And I have a problem with that because if it's supposed to represent Black Americans, then you need to have a young Black boy or a Black family. For if we have any hope to preserve our race, our group of people. The artist is a Black man. He's using the word African American, but
I thought it was a Black woman. It was a Black woman. I mean, a white woman talking about it on the news. So I thought it was a white woman that made it. But if it's a black man, okay, great. Even worse, to be honest with you. Even much worse.
I don't know if he's an immigrant. I got to do a little bit more background on him. However, what is this supposed to signify? And why are you giving us another statue? See, I'm tired of this.
They're all over the world. What is this? What are they trying to do?
They need to get rid of the George Floyd statues. We need to just get those out of there. I'm glad they got rid of like the BLM street, whatever that's over there by the White House. But no, we need to get, you know what? No, we need to actually put a plaque in front of the George Floyd statues, right? We need to put a plaque in front of it and say, this is a representation of how the Democrat system abuses its own constituents and brainwashes their own followers into creating mass movements of destruction. Because that's what they did. They used George Floyd to activate their constituents to basically burn down their own communities. It's crazy, man. Everyone fell for it. I even fell for it, right? When the George Floyd thing happened, I was like, oh, this is crazy. What are we doing? Why are cops out here treating black people like this? That's what I literally thought back in the day. And then when I saw everything happening and people rioting and all these protests, it really got me to thinking. And when I saw everything going on with COVID and the way they treated us, people getting fired because they wouldn't get the vaccine, it really got me into researching and thinking. And then I started waking up. If it wasn't for BLM and COVID, man, I don't know if I would have woken up. I would have still been completely, on the blank about this. I would have been plugged into the matrix for sure. But no, I had to break out of it. Just had to. And glad I did, because now I know so much and I see these things happening, and now I can really see the foolishness and understand what's going on in the world. What's up, Hurricane Smith? And what's up, Cliff? What's going on, guys? Yeah, we're in the morning. We're trying out a morning live stream, seeing what's going on. But let's go ahead and keep it going. We're almost done with this, and then that's going to be it for today. I just wanted to check out this clip with you guys and do a test run in the morning.
I mean, it's like you take somebody that's accomplished something. Yeah, I can shoot a statue to them, whatever they look like. But why are you picking this kind of imagery to put up?
Exactly. It's bad enough they had the George Floyd, and then they had this ugly statue that was supposed to be the hands of MLK and his wife, Coretta Scott King, and they put that up.
Ooh, did y'all see that statue? I forgot all about that. That was dirty work, man.
Up in Boston, but I don't care about any statues that you are putting up or even taking down. I care about public policies.
Yeah.
What's up,
what
Todd?
Are we supposed to get all
Morning,
happy
man.
because of image, or what are they doing?
Exactly.
See, you know what? This is a trend, and I think if it's a black artist, he's getting on board with it. Look at the swimsuit models for Sports Illustrated. What's become of them? Sports Illustrated for decades has represented the apex of masculine physical fitness. These guys are the fittest of the fit. They run track, play football, baseball, basketball. They do lacrosse, they ride horses, all kinds of things. They are fit athletes. So when they first started the swimsuit thing, they put in the female counterpart of physical fitness.
And now we got Teletubbies and Rompers on the covers.
Now they have some fat slobs in there that couldn't even run from the front door to the street. So why do you put a fat slob female in when you've got a hyper fit male in there? What are you trying to do?
Right. I guess it's supposed to be inclusive because everybody's not slim.
Well, why don't you get the guy who spends so much time in front of the television watching this never-ending flood of sports, the couch potato who's way overweight, and put him in Sports Illustrated too? Sounds like sex discrimination to me.
I don't think I wouldn't go that far. But
I know, but I'm just saying it's preposterous. But I mean, that would be
right.
Reciprocity on the thing.
Guys, this is just great. I'm attorney Michael Eli, and I'm glad you guys all joined me. Make sure to double tap that screen and hit that like and subscribe button. So we got a couple more clips to show you, but hopefully you guys are having a good time. That was Judge Joe Brown just ripping apart this bullshit DEI, affirmative action, anti-American, anti-white agenda that's being pushed by the Democrat Party. Anti-health, pro-big pharma, keep everybody on medication for the rest of your life, pro-big bank agenda that real Americans would never, ever follow, because we believe that we judge people based upon the content of their character, not based on the color of their skin, right? So let's get back into Big Tush. What's going on, Big Tush? What else has Big Tush been up to? Man, she's always getting into trouble.
Any temptation for them to divide us. We're in this together. The rule of law is on our side. And the one institution that has stood by our side is the courts. We will not give in, not give up. We will not capitulate. We will not bow. We will not bend. We will survive.
Come on, y'all. You with me? Who's the we? It's a her.
Let me ask you guys a question real quick. If you got caught lying on your mortgage application, would you love the government to swoop in and hand you $10 million to help you fight the case? Of course you do. Is that going to happen? No, obviously. But that's what's happening here in New York. Our Attorney General, Letitia James, the same one who's made a career at going after other people's paperwork, is now potentially getting a $10 million tax-funded legal lifeline. Not because she's defending the people in New York, not because she's being unfairly attacked for doing her job, but because she might have broken the law personally. And the state wants us to pay for it. Wants you to pay for it. Now Republicans in the state are fighting back. They've sent a formal letter to the New York State Comptroller. They're calling it a gross misuse of taxpayer money, because this isn't about public service. It's about Letitia James possibly trying to cover her personal legal mess with public dollars. Now, I've seen a few videos floating around saying the Republicans have successfully blocked this fund, but we've got a lot to say about that in this video. Let's get into it. Buried inside New York's new state budget is this sneaky little gem, a $10 million legal fund. On paper, it is meant to protect state employees from retaliation by the federal government. But we're not dumb. This is not about the janitor at the DMV. This fund is custom built for Letitia James. She's under criminal investigation for allegedly lying on mortgage applications. And suddenly there's this mysterious pot of legal money set aside right when she might need it the most. And instead of opening her own wallet or setting up a GoFundMe like everyone else does, she might get to dip into your tax dollars. And that's pretty wild. Before we get into the details, let me put you on something extremely important. If you are 65 or older or helping your parents to have saved this, obviously we've covered Letitia James a lot on this channel, from her beef with Trump to her sudden silence when her own administration came under fire. This woman knows how to play politics, but that ain't the same thing as doing the job right. Her brand has always been justice for all, but now she wants to quietly slide public money into her personal legal piggy bank. And the allegations against her aren't even a mystery. According to court documents and investigative reports, she allegedly lied about her residency, income, and mortgage terms on sworn documents. That's fraud, allegedly. But instead of fighting with her own money or raising funds privately like anyone else would, the state of New York is going to give her a bailout. And obviously this has not gone unnoticed. So New York State Republicans fired off a letter to the state comptrolling saying, nah, we're not going to let this happen. They're calling the fund a slush fund, and for good reason, because no one else knew that this line was even in the budget. There was no public hearings, no press release, no voter input. The budget just slid through like a midnight heist. And now taxpayers are expected to just accept that they're footing a bill for alleged criminal defense. Again, personal criminal defense. Now, I want to be crystal clear because I've seen a few videos about this where the title is Republicans successfully stop this from happening. Republicans stop the $10 million slush fund. So let me be crystal clear. As of this moment, the Republicans haven't actually stripped the money away from the budget. The $10 million is still there, but they're pushing hard to stop the comptroller from releasing it. So this is basically a political standoff. They're trying to shut this down before Letitia James gets her hands on a single dime of that fund. As of right now, Republicans have not definitively blocked James' access to that money. Their budget obligations came too late to remove the provision. Democrats passed the budget with the fund already included. The comptroller's intervention is still uncertain. As of this moment, the comptroller has not announced any decision to deny or release funds from that account. The $10 million remained authorized in the budget, and no payouts have been reported yet. The comptroller's office generally must adhere to lawful budget appropriations, meaning he may have limited authority to unilaterally withhold payments if an eligible official requests reimbursement under the fund's criteria. So the Republicans' efforts are pressuring the comptroller, but there is no official confirmation that the money has been frozen or invalid. James could still tap into the fund if she qualifies under the law's conditions. The situation is still developing, but at this point, no state official has confirmed a block on these funds. If there's anything that has changed, I will let you know. And if you guys have any information about this, I've been spending a long time trying to find like where is the news that this actually happened.
Yeah, so we're going to move on to the next one just because there's so many scumbags in political power. I've already been going for 2 hours. Again, guys, I'm attorney Michael Eline. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Make sure to tap it. Make sure to save always save these videos for later viewing when you're driving or whatever. You can listen to them, and make sure to share with everybody, and make sure to always hit that notification button too, because we know that YouTube likes to unsubscribe people that listen to patriotic shows like mine. So, anytime you want to hold the government accountable, they're slaves that they pay off, right? They don't like that. So let's get into now Fannie, this other low-life scumbag that George Soros helped get put into political office to go after Donald Trump.
Today, based on information developed by that investigation, a Fulton County grand jury returned a true bill of indictment, charging 19 individuals with violations of Georgia law arising from a criminal conspiracy to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election in this state.
A few moments later.
What is your current relationship with the district attorney?
Just as outlined earlier, we are great friends. We speak regularly.
Just to clarify, when did the romantic relationship between the two of you start?
Yeah, so, we get into, there's been this effort to say that, okay, these exact dates are at issue, and these exact dates are, I'm getting signaled here. No.
Yeah, take it. Want to go off mic for a second?
Yes.
Okay.
And here we go. A Georgia Court of Appeals has disqualified the Fulton County DA, Fani Willis, from that election interference case. It's coming down right now.
Imagine going after Donald Trump in one of the biggest RICO cases of the decade, only to get caught up in your own real-life episode of scandal, except this one can cost your entire career, your job, and your future income. That's Fani Willis, Fulton County's district attorney. She wanted to be the hero. She wanted to lead the charge. She wanted to be the one who finally held Trump accountable and responsible. But now she's disqualified from the case. Her reputation is trash, and she's staring down a storm of investigations and potential disbarment. Even worse, she can lose millions in future legal income if she's removed, sued, and stripped of her license. And thanks to Governor Brian Kemp signing a law to revive the prosecutor's attorney's qualification commission, she has a real chance of being booted for misconduct. This commission has the power to investigate, discipline, and even remove district attorneys, and it was designed for moments like this. Fani is now a prime target, and Kemp just gave her enemies the legal tools to come after her. So yeah, she's not just facing embarrassment, she's in a career-crushing, wallet-burning, legacy-destroying trouble. So how did Georgia's top prosecutor end up in the same kind of legal fire that she was aiming at Trump?
I make decisions in this office based on the facts and the law. The law is completely nonpartisan. That's how decisions are made in every case.
Before we get into that, let me put you on something important. If you're 65 or older or helping your parents with Medicare, context to the Fani Willis, she made national headlines when she charged Trump and 18 others with a massive racketeering case tied to Georgia's 2020 election. She pulled out the big guns, RICO laws usually used for mafia bosses. She tried to look fearless. She tried to look focused, kind of like if Olivia Pope went to law school and actually followed the rules. But while she was out there trying to make Trump sweat, she was apparently cozying up with a man named Nathan Wade, the very same dude that she hired as a special prosecutor. The problem is, this is where things get slimy. Fani hires Nathan Wade to help take down Trump. He's billed the county over $650,000 for his work. Okay, expensive, sure, but maybe he's just that good. Well, it turns out that Nathan and Fani wasn't just co-workers, they were allegedly in a whole relationship, a romantic relationship, trips to Napa, cruises, first-class vibes, all funded by the same money taxpayers were giving him to prosecute a case. So naturally, people got really annoyed and started asking questions. Questions like, did Fani hire her boyfriend to a 6-figure gig so they could both eat off the system? And more importantly, can she legally stay on this case if she had that kind of conflict of interest? That's why the judge said, hey, either Wade goes or both of y'all are off this case. So Wade steps down. Crisis averted, right? No, not at all. Because even after Wade resigns, Fani is still not in the clear. The media starts digging deeper. Republicans in the Georgia legislature are circling like sharks. And Governor Brian Kemp, he sees an opening. So what does he do? He revives a little known group called the Prosecuting Attorneys Qualification Commission. That's a lot to say. Basically, it's a watchdog group with teeth. This commission now has the power to discipline or remove prosecutors for stuff like misconduct or abuse of discretion. And guess who they're looking at? Fani Willis. So things get worse for her. Some whistleblowers start coming forward saying that Willis may have steered contracts and her office had a whole culture of mismanagement. Remember that lawsuit I talked about in the last video that I made about her?
He told everybody in front of Crystal, Deontay, everybody, we're going to get MacBooks, we're going to do that, we're going to get swag, we're going to use it for travel. I said, you cannot do that. It's a very, very specific grant. He took me off. I questioned Junior DA because I questioned him. Because I knew for a fact, Mr. Cuffey respectfully did not know what he was doing, period.
So I respect that is your assessment. It was clear to me that you and Mr. Cuffey were not getting along. And I'm not saying that your assessment is wrong. I want you to.
So it was like, you know, I'm scared to lose my job. I have a whole family. We have a house. We have a mortgage. We have all of these things that we have to, you know, maintain. And so I'm scared. I made another complaint. And then on January 14th, I was fired 20 minutes after leaving the DCRC, having my third and final complaint with the DCRC.
So now it's not just her love life on trial, it's her leadership, her ethics, her entire reputation. And obviously Trump lawyers are probably loving this. So they're in court like, see, this case was rigged. Dismiss it. And the thing is, they might not be wrong. The Georgia Court of Appeals drops a bomb. They disqualify Fani Willis and their entire office from the Trump case, not because she broke the law, but because the appearance of impropriety was just too strong. Translation, even if she didn't do anything criminal, she still blew the case optics so bad that the public won't even trust it anymore. So this is a ridiculously wild fall. She went from being the face of accountability to the poster child of how not to handle a high-profile prosecution. And remember, this is RICO we're talking about. You only get one shot at this. There's no redos, there's no takebacks. This decision could tank the entire case against Trump in Georgia. And if it does, the taxpayers in Fulton County might be on a hook for Trump's legal fees. I'm not exaggerating. So imagine being taxed so your county can pay Trump's lawyers because your DA sucks and she fumbled the whole situation. So this is how it's going to work. If the case gets dismissed due to Fani Willis's disqualification and deemed to have brought impropriety or in bad faith, Georgia law allows the defendants to seek reimbursement for legal costs. And in this case, as massive as Trump's RICO indictment, with high-power legal teams billing hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, this number could be astronomical. Now, Fulton County doesn't have a magical pot of gold to pay that kind of bill. That money comes straight out of the county's budget. We're talking public funds, money that should be going to schools, public safety, roads, infrastructure. And if you're wondering if this is all just a theory, Governor Brian Kemp signed legislation making it easier to pass these legal costs onto the taxpayers. It's not like a possibility anymore. It's actually on the table. So the real life consequences of Fani Willis's drama aren't just about the headlines or the scandal. It's about every Fulton County resident potentially footing the bill for a political and ethical disaster they didn't ask for. If the courts side with Trump's team, residents could watch their tax dollars get funneled into the pockets of some of the very lawyers working to keep Trump out of jail. It's the kind of outcome that makes people lose faith in everything, especially if you're in Fulton County. I don't know how much the taxes are, but imagine paying because Fani Willis effed everything up. I'm assuming the taxpayers will not be too friendly with Fani Willis if she continues to be district attorney. So what's the fallout? Fani Willis is still technically the DA for now, but between the court disqualification, the ethics investigations, and the political storm circling her office, she is basically radioactive. And the pressure is not just local because national people are jumping in. Obviously, the Trump supporters are celebrating. Even folks who may have liked her work before, they're thinking, yeah, this looks pretty bad. Meanwhile, Governor Kemp's got his commission and they're ready to pounce. The Georgia State Senate is already talking about subpoenas. Some folks are even calling for her to quit. And here's the really interesting thing. Fani Willis, who loves to talk and loves to throw out speeches, she has basically gone silent. No press tour, no apologies, no accountability, just sitting around, I guess, waiting for the subpoenas to come through. Fani Willis tried to take on one of the most powerful men in the country, but her personal decisions might have completely derailed the entire case. She tried to become the hero of the people trying to handle Trump and possibly just handed Trump a get out of jail free card. Not because of bad lawyering, but because of bad judgment. Hiring your own boyfriend to work on the most high profile case in modern Georgia history, that's not bold. That's pretty dumb. Now the entire justice system in Georgia is now feeling the ripple effects. Trump's charges could be tossed, taxpayers could eat the bill, and Fani Willis could lose her job. And even her law license. This is an epic fall from grace. So I have to ask the question, was it all worth it? Was the relationship, the risk, and the recklessness worth sabotaging a case that could have changed history? I mean, who knows what actually was going to happen, but it didn't start well.
Well, what do you guys think? I mean, I tend to agree with no reply. I mean, we had Harris, James, and Willis all going to the same school together, all being part of the same sorority. I mean, come on, guys. You don't think that this was a setup from the start? You don't think that George Soros didn't put these people there on purpose so that they would prosecute Trump and try to go after Trump? Get Trump, gonna get Trump. That's all they could talk about, right? And what do you guys think? Give me a bunch of ones if you think the only reason these DEI appointees got their jobs was so they could get Trump. Because that's what a lot of people think, guys. So we got one more to go. Actually, we got, stand by. Yeah, we got one more video to go here. By the way, I want to thank everybody for showing up. It's been a long show. It's been over 2 hours. I'm exhausted. I got one of these special chairs where my knees are down here because I've got sciatica, but it's not helping too much. I've got a standing desk, but I've got to press a button and readjust the camera and all that. So we'll just go through this last video, and then I'm going to go do some teeter hang-ups. But I want to thank Beyond Watcher and James Forbes and Round Daddy, Lenny Malley, James Forbes, my main man, Kinetic Customs and Racing. Good seeing you, brother. And hopefully Jody Shiloh is still here. But let's get into the last video. I think you're going to like this one. Here's another DEI psychopath Democrat gone wild. For some reason, these Democrats want these 20 million illegal aliens that just walked across our border and invaded our country, were invited here with your tax dollars by non-governmental organizations so the Democrats could pick up at least 13 new House seats using what they call census gerrymandering. Trust me, that's the only reason why Biden invited these people across, was to create a single party state and to prevent any other political party from being in power again, because they can't win on the issues. Because there's no way someone's going to vote for someone who thinks boys should be competing in girls' sports, that drag queens should be hanging out with kindergartners, right? And that tampon machines should be in the boys' restroom. So the only way they could do it is with cheating. And hopefully we'll get these illegals out of here or change the law so that they cannot pick up new House seats using the U.S. Census. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree, because it would have saved the American taxpayer probably over $1 trillion in giving these guys free cell phones, free hotels, free everything for the sole purpose of trying to rig the next election. Let's go.
Body camera of protesters brawling with ICE agents has been released. What's this about?
So New Jersey Democrats are defending their actions of storming a Newark ICE facility on Friday that ultimately resulted in the arrest of the city's mayor.
DHS says more arrests could be coming as they accuse 3 Democratic members of Congress of assaulting federal agents at an ICE facility in Newark. The lawmakers say it's the agents that escalated the situation.
Yeah, that's what they always say. It's always the police that make things worse. Can you imagine if these were Republican lawmakers who attacked police for some reason? The story might be a little bit different.
People just are afraid of this un-American hyperactivity,
un-American
weaponization of law enforcement, and the consistent lying.
They made this a violent scene that we were unfortunately all a part of, and it's something that should really shock all Americans.
The lawmakers say they wanted to conduct an oversight visit at the ICE facility when a scuffle broke out with federal agents. DHS is pointing to this video that they say shows at least one representative.
Okay, look who's doing the pushing. The ICE agents are not doing the pushing. There's a fence, there's security, and people are pushing, trying to force their way inside this facility. The ICE agents, it looks like they were just defending themselves.
Monica McIver in the red, shoving her way past a DHS agent. They say she body slammed the officer, an accusation McIver rejects.
There's no video that supports me body slamming anyone.
Doesn't mean it didn't happen.
There to do our job, therefore oversight visit.
She's rough, man.
DHS spokesperson Tricia McLaughlin responded this morning.
Body slamming, body ramming, striking an officer, pushing, shoving, whatever you want to call it, it sure looks like assault.
Okay, so she may not have, WWE style suplexed this person, but she was really rough. She was pushing people, and that's technically assault. They assaulted these ICE agents. If any of us did that to a police officer, we'd be in jail.
Newark's Mayor Ras Baraka, who's running for New Jersey governor, is facing trespassing charges for allegedly ignoring warnings to leave the property. Baraka argues he was on public
And the mayor
property
got
when he was
arrested.
detained. The lawmakers were eventually able to tour the ICE facility after the confrontation. McLaughlin says the situation could have been avoided had the members of Congress followed protocol and given 24 hours notice ahead of their visit. Lawrence Ainsley and Brian.
Okay, so what these people did, they knew that they were showing up to this thing to get on TV and show the people that they were standing up for who they say are all Americans, even though the people in that detention center were in the country illegally and in many cases are the worst of the worst. ICE isn't out there picking people up off the street for no reason. They're looking for people with criminal records, and that's who's in this jail.
ICE has nothing to hide. They have nothing to be ashamed of.
Oh, this is inside
facility
this place.
is so clean. It has, all kinds of recreation facilities, outdoor soccer fields.
Soccer fields
weight
at a nice
equipment,
facility.
Domino tables. It also has telephones everywhere with signs next to them of how they can, the phone numbers to reach their consulates. It also has legal facilities, computer, webcams. There are doors on the bedrooms.
Honestly, this is going to backfire in the faces of all of these quote unquote protesters because this is a nice, clean facility. Yes, it's a jail. Yes, the people in it weren't supposed to be in America. Yes, this is technically a consequence of breaking the law, but look at it. This is not that El Salvador prison.
Here's a clip of him telling me the kind of person that comes into this facility. You can't come here, you guys, just because you crossed the border illegally. You have to have committed another crime.
Oh, really?
Person who ends up in this facility is not just that they crossed the border illegally. You've had to have done more than that, correct?
Right. So currently today, as we're walking through here today, there's 152 detainees. 75% of those have committed crimes, been convicted of crime, or have pending criminal charges. So
what kind of crimes are we talking about?
Unfortunately, it runs the whole gamut.
So the people in this facility that elected representatives in New Jersey stormed and where they altercated with police were not here because their crime was to seek the American dream. No, they did something else to wind up here.
75% of the people that are here are felons. Bad people you don't want in your neighborhood.
Here's another thing that I found really interesting. Everywhere you go, in Spanish and English, there are signs up that say, do you want to go home? ¿Quieres ir a tu casa? And it gives you a phone number that you can call to self-deport. Or you can also just tell somebody in the facility, hey, I'm ready to be done with this. I just want to go home to my country. If you do that, the American government through ICE will arrange within 48 hours a free flight and $1,000 so you can get out. So the
people in this facility that our elected officials are telling us is so horrible and so inhumane. They can leave whenever they want and they can get paid to do it. That's crazy. Who rejects that offer and decides to stay in a place like this, knowing that the end result could be El Salvador? Come on.
That they are here with no agency, that they are being, detained with no choices. That's not true. They have a choice to self-deport, and they make it really easy.
Rachel, I'm just curious.
And people still don't take
this
it.
Is
Why?
The director for all of ICE in the country, and I know you were there touring this facility. But how does the director feel about the Democrats defending the criminals that are in that facility that you were in, and not defending the people that they're victimizing on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, Absolutely. And we had that conversation. We also talked about why they're not out defending or standing up for and looking in.
Because they're trying to rig the next election by using the U.S. Census. That's why. What they've done is they've flooded the country with 20 million illegal aliens. They sent them to blue districts in red states. They're going to split those districts and create at least a minimum of 13 new seats that are Democrat, which is exactly how the left was able to take over in California, which is also why left-wing states don't have voter ID, guys. It's because they register them to vote immediately when they get them a driver's license at the DMV. You can say, oh, they don't vote. They don't. Well, how do you know they don't vote, guys? When we know that they literally register them to vote and send them paper ballots in the mail. What are you talking about? Stop listening to CNN, Communist News Network, and Reuters and NPR and start using your brain. Why is it that they don't want voter ID? Why is it that they're going to pick up 13 new House seats? It's because of illegal aliens. That's why.
To oversight at our own prisons for our own American citizens. I know I talked to Representative Claudia Tenney on Fox and Friends Weekend, and she told me the conditions are deplorable in her state of New York for prisoners. So I'm not.
You know, that's a great point. All of the facilities where you or I are most likely to get placed in the Federal Bureau of Prisons or even in a state prison are way worse than this. And not only can the people in this nice facility leave wherever they want and get $1,000 even if they're a dangerous felon, nobody's at prisons in America fighting for better conditions for Americans. No, this is only happening here at a place that's beautiful where nobody's actually a prisoner. And that reveals that this whole thing was just a political stunt which can't accomplish anything. Even if these individuals get released, they're still in the country illegally. They've still got to get deported. They cannot be released from this facility and be allowed out in America. No.
American killers, and for them to try and get these individuals out is just beyond the pale. We know that the mayor, we know these members of Congress want their 15 minutes of fame so desperately.
They're getting it.
They're willing to do it at the peril of the safety of our brave law enforcement and even the detainees as well, Lawrence.
Trisha, why didn't y'all charge?
Okay, so this is the woman here. You can see her getting really up in the faces, screaming at people. And these are the people saying that the ICE agents made this whole thing worse. They're the ones that broke into this place with no achievable goal whatsoever. And the reason they did it is because they see these ICE troops and they think that these are Trump's troops. They think that this is some awful thing. They think that Trump's the only president that ever deported anybody, that President Obama never deported anybody. Even President Biden deported some people. But to me, the most fascinating thing is that the $1,000 self-deportation bonus even applies to people who are in a detention facility awaiting some type of proceeding.
We are making it as easy as possible for illegal aliens to leave America. Any illegal alien can simply show up at an airport and receive a free flight out of our country. We have also launched a phone app called CBP Home. That's CBP Home, where illegals can book a free flight to any foreign country. As long as it's not here, you can go anywhere you want. We're also adding a very important exit bonus for illegals to further incentivize their self-deportation. This deportation bonus will save American taxpayers billions and billions of dollars. What Biden did to this country can never.
Okay, let's stop it right there. If you're going to give people $1,000 to help them get home, that right there ends the argument that people have nothing, therefore they cannot leave the country, that they are somehow trapped here. That's not true at all. People are being paid to leave. But it looks like the only criminals who won't be getting paid to do anything are these protesting officials. Look at this.
All right, several House Democrats potentially facing criminal charges after that chaos, a heated altercation that broke out at a New Jersey Immigration and Customs Enforcement detention facility on Friday. A spokesperson for the Department of Homeland Security now saying the Trump administration is taking a closer look at the arrests of those involved in assaults on ICE officers. And News Nation's Rich McHugh joins us live. So, Rich, what more do we know about all this?
Hi, Nicole. Well, DHS Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin tells me in an email this is an open and active investigation, but stops short of repeating her comments over the weekend that there will be more arrests coming, but says it's an open and active investigation related to this chaotic incident on Friday when the mayor of Newark, Ras Baraka, was arrested. He was accused of trespassing after federal agents say he ignored warnings to leave. Alina Habba, she's the interim U.S. attorney for District of New Jersey. She wrote on X, the mayor of Newark, Ras Baraka, committed trespass and ignored multiple warnings from Homeland Security investigations to remove himself from the ICE detention center in Newark, New Jersey this afternoon. He was released.
I think the question on everybody's mind is, what happens if this situation escalates? Will these people face charges? Will they face actual jail time? Could they have to pay fines? And if that doesn't happen, does that pretty much guarantee that ICE agents all now have more of a target on their back than they already have when they're out there in our neighborhoods trying to make them safe?
Now, that's a dispute. We could be wrong, they could be wrong. But you know who solves disputes? Courts. That's why we have courts. Courts solve disputes, not ICE.
So you wanted to get arrested?
But now the attention turning to the 3 Democratic members of...
And this guy is such a dumbass. They're getting their due process, guys. Due process means they have a hearing. They've already admitted that they're in the country illegally. So they have a hearing and then they leave. But they're also getting an option to get a lot of money, and they can go right now and not even be detained. I mean, to me, that's a sweetheart deal.
Congress there with the mayor. Let's take a closer look at that ICE body cam footage in that chaos.
Yeah, the question is this woman going to be in trouble?
They say the video shows
the
Representative Monica Ivor. She's the one in the red, pushing and elbowing her way past Homeland Security agents to get through the gate into the property. The 3 members of Congress claim they were assaulted and deny that they tried to storm the facility. You can see them screaming at one point in the video of the faces of the DHS agents. Again, Department of Homeland Security tells me that this is an open and active investigation, but wouldn't go far as to say that there will be more arrests coming. Nicole.
All right. And Rich, it's not just there in Newark. We're also seeing some chaotic footage of arrests in Tennessee and other places.
Yeah, we're seeing this nationwide. There's this tension between local officials, local elected officials, and ICE agents. And over the last week, we saw this happen in Worcester, Massachusetts. We saw a raid there. Police union in Massachusetts wants criminal charges now against the city council member after this chaotic protest.
Look at how dangerous this is for ICE agents. They're here. They're trying to do their job. Their operation gets leaked, and a whole bunch of protesters and people show up with cameras and get in their faces, just like their elected officials are doing. Our elected officials are not setting a good example at all, and their actions may have just endangered all of law enforcement, which is why some people say something should happen.
This raid in Worcester, agents were trying to detain a woman who was accused of violent crimes when about 24 people blocked this unmarked car. A woman even stood in front of it while holding her baby.
They're defending criminals.
Say they were assaulted, and that the council member helped stir everything up. So
look at
obviously,
that.
many residents in Worcester were
right here.
outraged.
They're fighting.
This is a trend, Nicole, that we are going to be seeing, likely going to be seeing, continue throughout towns across America.
Unless somebody decides to do something about it. And now the question is, what should that be? Should people like this mayor of New Jersey who attacked ICE agents along with other Democrats who are elected have some sort of consequence because of this? If they don't, are we just going to see more protests? Is the country going to head into a summer of aggravated activity led by quote unquote activists who just want to defend people who shouldn't even be in America to begin with? Let me know. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.
Hey guys, so that'll be it. So Brandon, good seeing you, brother. Rami, thanks for sticking it out with me, man. This was a long one today. I'll try to go live tomorrow as well. I do want to play some catch up on the Lane Myers debacle, the saga of Lane Myers, kind of find out what's been going on. I'm going to talk to Reluctant Prophet, trying to get one of his family members involved to do a fundraiser for him, so his wife, has something to live off of while Lane's being locked up, and potentially for legal support for an appeal, because that's probably where his case is headed. Car Cure, good seeing you. Car Care, good seeing you. Selwyn, good seeing you as well. Beyond Watcher, Brandon Mitchell, Lenny Malley, James Forbes, SW Observer, Joelskade, my Swedish friend. Thank you guys for all the super chats and buying the memberships and all that. It means a lot to me. You guys supporting my channel. I hope you have a terrific Sunday. And God bless everybody here today. I wish you guys to have a safe rest of your day. Make sure to always conceal carry as long as you're doing it in a way you're not going to get in trouble with your local Gestapo. Protect your family, protect your wife and children above all else, because that's your job as a man. Make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to save, because we never know when the thought police are going to take down this channel. Thank you, guys. Also, we're almost up to 50,000 subscribers. Please spread the word. Help me get some more so we can try to hit 50 grand by tonight, if possible. With that being said, guys, I'll see you soon. All right. Semper Fi, do or die.